Who's, you're doing it or he's doing it? Hey, everyone. I think we're ready. I'd like to call to order the Tuesday, October 11th meeting of the Onalaska Common Council. The time is 7 p.m. We'll begin with the roll call. Could the clerk please call the roll?
Mayor Kim Smith,
Here.
Tom Smith,
Here.
Dan Stevens,
Present.
Stephen Knott,
Present.
Leanne Stokes,
Here.
Larry Jurassic,
Present.
Diane Wolf. Here.
Thank you. We are all present. Please rise and we will do the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Item 3, rules of the City of Onalaska Common Council and its subcommittees. This is a harassment-free forum. The city council and subcommittee meetings shall be conducted in a courteous manner. Citizens, council, and committee members shall be allowed to state their positions in an atmosphere free of slander, obscene remarks, or threats of violence. Sufficient warnings may be given by the sergeant at arms or chair at any time during the remarks, and in the event that any individual shall violate the rules of decorum as set forth, such person may then be cut off from comment or debate. Item 4, public input. Anyone who would like to address the Common Council, now is the time to do so. Please begin by stating your name and your address and limit your comments to 3 minutes.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Alex Wegner. I live at W8328 Prairie Pine Lane in Onalaska, so down on Bryce Prairie. Thank you all for having me tonight. I just wanted to share an update. I am the marketing manager for TDS here in Onalaska. As you are probably well aware of, the construction is going well so far. We are all over town. I just wanted to note, I left my business card for each of you. On that, it has my phone number to my personal cell and my email address for work, which I get my emails all day, all night. That is just so if you have any community members who have any complaints, have any questions that they're okay with sharing their information with me, I can get them to the appropriate people at TDS who can answer any questions they have. On a marketing standpoint, hopefully you all have seen us around town. As I've kind of said, if you don't see us around town, then I'm not doing my job right. But also on your paper, or excuse me, in front of you and on the back table, you'll see a flyer for our community thank you event that we're planning for October 23rd. The city of Onalaska has just been so gracious to us and so kind. All the community members are very happy to see us. I've even had compliments from other team members from around the state about that. So we're just throwing a party to thank the community. It's totally free. We're going to have some cupcake refreshments for everyone, face painting for the kids, a small vendor market with some local craft vendors, and actually the Parks and Rec department may be setting up. Sorry to put you on the spot. But otherwise, there's going to be a band and it's just going to be a great afternoon. So it's from 3 to 6 p.m. on the 23rd of October. And you'll be seeing our flyers around. We've gone and got all the appropriate permits. So don't worry when you see our yard signs around. But otherwise, if you have any questions, you have my contact info. So thanks so much and we'll talk again soon.
Thank you, Alex. Is there anyone else that would like to address the Common Council this evening? Barry, you want to come up? Yeah, please, yep.
On that side of this.
Barry's a past council member.
Some things don't change. There's still some people I recognize. My name is Barry Blomquist. I live at 800 Country Club Lane, Onalaska, Wisconsin. I'm here to donate a piece of artwork that over the last 15 years, I've collected paintings by Marion Bean, who painted a lot of historic buildings in the La Crosse area, especially like post office, the Stoddard Hotel, the library. Anyhow, I somehow over the last years, I ended up collecting 40 of these things. And now it's time to clean the house. And one of them is a picture of the Onalaska train depot that was painted in the 60s. I don't think maybe any of you would remember it. I don't, but even though I'm that old, but I think it was torn down in the late 60s, early 70s. But I thought it would be a great thing to have hanging. And it's a kind of a valuable piece of historical art. So I wanted to donate this for anybody that knows what the train depot looked like 2 years ago. Really good. It's original watercolor.
It's gonna be bright.
Want to just come up here and they.
Very nice.
Thank you, Katie. Okay.
All right.
So anyway, thank
Thank
you
you,
very much.
sir.
I put it to good use. Hang it.
Maybe we should put it.
Thank you.
Thank you, Barry.
You.
Interesting.
Thank you, sir, for your generosity.
Good evening, Diane Wolf, 910 Orchid Place on Alaska. I just wanted to compliment Omni Center and the staff, and particularly Justin Swartling and all of their staff. Omni Center was just a buzz with all the events on Saturday and Sunday. And I heard from so many, personally, I heard from so many of the vendors there. They were so very pleased with how it was run. I understand that they had like a meet and greet Friday night, which they typically haven't done in the past, where there was like a mini bar was open, there was a little bit of food, and they all got to meet each other. So just wanted to extend a very sincere thanks for all the hard work that the Omni Center staff has put forth, not only this past weekend, but also in the past. Thank you.
Thank you, Diane.
I'll second that.
Would anyone else like to address the Common Council this evening?
Your Honor.
Alder
Would
Stevens,
you like me to go to the podium or
you're okay. Just begin by stating your name and address.
so far? Thank you, Your Honor. Dan Stevens, 1708 Jennifer Court. I'm also a second district alder. I am also the president of the Onalaska Art Keepers, and for public input, we'd just like to give first special thanks to the mayor for coming to our Pumpkin and the Pint event on Saturday. I know it was a very big weekend. We had the Firehouse 5K, and then that was early in the morning. We had the weekend at the Omni Center, as Diana had mentioned, and then Pumpkin and the Pint was at Dash Park. We had beautiful weather and a great turnout, and the mayor gave a proclamation in favor of a dear board member that we have that is struggling with ALS. So we appreciate you coming out and supporting the community that way. And then further on that note, if anybody has been to Great River Landing, you may notice a change on the building. The Onalaska Art Keepers have erected a plaque that is that coordinates with the Nature's Backyard sculpture that we have there. On the plaque is the poem that was written in honor of the structure, the sculpture. It has glass, stained glass on the exterior, and then a ceramic base that was done by Onalaska Art Keeper members. There's a music box with the rights given from the John Denver Foundation. So we will be having a dedication on November 7th at approximately 5:30. Anybody is welcome if they're interested in the city property. That's, I believe, the day before the election, but you have time before you have to vote, so come on down.
Thank you, sir. Would anyone else like to address the Common Council this evening? Second call for anyone wishing to address the Common Council. Third and final call, if anyone would like to address the Common Council this evening. Public input is now closed, and we'll move on to item 5, the report from the mayor. First up, item A, we have recognition of police officer Michael Johnson on graduating from Western Technical Law Enforcement Academy. His graduation was on Friday, October 7th, and I'll turn it over to Chief Eschbach to say a few words about Michael.
Thank you, Mayor. Good evening, everyone. Yeah, just a quick update that Officer Johnson has graduated. It was a very nice ceremony out at the Angelo campus on Friday. There was a total of 7 graduates, so a pretty small class, which is kind of what we're dealing with in these times now. But the academy was a really good experience for him. He has started now with his orientation with our department. Being able to sponsor a candidate out at the academy has been very beneficial. All 7 people there were hired by other law enforcement agencies, so the competition is extremely tight. So for us to be able to sponsor candidates to go through that has definitely been a helpful recruitment tool. And so we'll continue to, I wouldn't say look for those candidates, but offer that opportunity if the right candidate comes along. So yeah, he'll be starting his training for the next over 4 months in the field, and we expect that to go well. So thank you.
Thank you, Chief. Next up, we have item B, recognition of full-time firefighter EMT Jack Hubbard on completing his 1-year probation. Take it away, Chief Goody.
All right, good evening, everyone, and thank you. Tonight, we're recognizing firefighter EMT Jack Hubbard for successfully completing his 1-year probation. Jack is state certified firefighter 2 EMT, driver operator, and a certified fire inspector. He also has his associate's degree in fire protection. His experience includes an internship with Sun Prairie Fire Rescue and part-time with DeForest Windsor Fire and EMS for 3 years prior to coming to Alaska. In his free time, he said he enjoys hanging out with friends and family. I've also been told he is OFD's #1 golfer, not Mitch. Jack is also smiling, always smiling when I see him. He gets along great with everyone on our team. And joining him tonight is his father, Greg, and girlfriend, Olivia. Also joining virtually, I believe, is, where are we at here? I lost it. Is his mom, Jennifer, and stepdad, Tom. I was just checking to make sure the camera's on. So Olivia and Jack, if you want to come up, Olivia will be pinning Jack his badge and officially welcoming him to our family.
And feel free to get out of your chair if you're taking a photo. You can move to a different location. All right, congratulations. Item C, Wisconsin Department of Health Services grant funding for emergency medical services. This one will be covered by our Assistant Fire Chief, Les Noren.
Good evening, thank you. Actually, 2 grants to talk about. I'll talk about the smaller one first, if you don't mind. The Wisconsin Department of Natural Resources has an annual grant process. Lieutenant Jeremy Southworth did a lot of the work on this to get us a grant for about $760. That represents about 50% of the total project cost for some equipment we'd had to buy anyway in terms of protective equipment and firefighting foam. The second grant is from the Wisconsin
Department of Health Services.
Right, I almost flipped back and said Iowa.
For emergency medical
Some
services.
habits die hard. But the Wisconsin Department of Health Services, it's a flex grant. It was a one-time grant opportunity that was provided. It was one of the few that's open to non-transport EMS agencies. We applied and got awarded about $46,000 in grant funding, and $38,000 of that will go towards some Lucas CPR assist devices. Those are life-saving pieces of equipment. We'll get 2 of them for 2 different apparatus. So we're very excited about that. And the rest of the money will be used to forward EMS education for our members.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Item E, transfer of the Mississippi Valley Conservancy Savannah Oaks track to the city of Unalaska. I'm going to ask Dan Wick to come up and talk about that topic. I was very excited to be able to go down and sign the paperwork for this. I think it's a great great thing for Onalaska, but Dan and his team are the ones that did all the work, so he can tell you more about it.
So yeah, we were fortunate enough back September 19th, we were able to finally acquire the Savannah Oaks piece that was that we had worked with MVC on many years ago to bring in as part of our park system. MVC is a key partner. They help us obtain lands, put conservation easements on it, and then the city turns around and acquires that land to add it part of our greenway plan. So this connection here connects to Greens Coulee Park, which we had was about roughly 69 acres. With the parcels that came in, it added an additional 82 to the area. So we're in the process that we have trails that connect both. And so it's just another great opportunity to get people out in nature, go out for a hike and provide some great resources. So that was a great opportunity for us and hope to have more opportunities going into the future. But they did give us a nice picture as Vanna here is showing that with the information. So thank you. Thanks to everybody. We couldn't do it. Amanda, Katie, Jared, thank Joanne and the mayor for signing the paperwork for us. So it was completely a team effort. No one person here did it. So it was good to see that collaboration come together.
Thank you, Dan. And thank you to everyone who had a part in that. Item F, I wanted to just let everyone know that I did proclaim October 8th as Linda Licky Day. You should have received the proclamation in your basket if you were not there in person. Moving on, recommendations for approval and or possible action on the following committees, commissions, boards, or officials. All items listed under the consent agenda are considered routine and will be enacted by one motion. There will be no separate discussion on these items unless a council member requests removal, in which event the item will be removed from the consent agenda and considered in the order of business in the non-consent agenda. Are there any items the councilors would like removed from the consent agenda?
Your Honor, I would like to remove item C.
Item C. Item C. Thank you. Are there any other items anyone would like removed? Okay, then I'll consider a motion to approve the consent agenda with item C removed.
Move that we approve the consent agenda.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion on the floor to approve the consent agenda. The motion was by Dan Stevens. It was seconded by Stephen Knott. Is there any discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Those opposed, please say no. Motion carries unanimously. Moving on to the non-consent agenda, item 7 is a recap of items pulled from the consent agenda. We have pulled item C, which is a finance item approval to become a vendor for Wisconsin Help for Homeowners program. Turn it over to you, Alder Stevens, as chair of that committee.
Thank you, Your Honor. Well, I'm still very much in support of this item. The vendor in question is Coulee Cap, and I had the representative reach out to me regarding this program today. Initially, they came and visited us, I believe it was in May. It wasn't clear to me at the time, and I don't think it was to staff or council, that we should have started the application process early. They let me know that they were almost out of funds, and then we're going to put the program on hold. And people that have an application pending that live in the city of Onalaska, they will still be processed. They later called back in the afternoon and said that there was more funding coming. So, and they just asked that we had discussed doing assistance with marketing, maybe doing something on our website or something with a city water bill. It's just, they would still like to be approved, but we should coordinate with them if we want to do any ancillary outreach at that time. So with that, again, I would endorse this. This is at no cost to the city, and it could provide relief for Onalaska residents on their water bill, their property taxes, or other items if they had suffered a loss of income due to COVID-related incidents. So with that, I hope this passes.
Okay, we have a motion on the floor. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion on the floor by Alder Stevens. It's been seconded by Alder Knott to approve becoming a vendor for the Wisconsin Help for Homeowners Program. Any further discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Those opposed say no. Motion carries unanimously. Okay, item 8, Finance Committee, Alder Stevens.
Only under item 8A vouchers. The following is a list of monies expended since the last common council meeting dated September 13th, 2022. And the amount is $1,673,175.58. And I will make the motion to approve.
A second.
Okay, we have a motion by Alder Stevens, seconded by Alder Smith. Is there discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say no. Motion carries unanimously.
Moving on to item 9 under personnel. A, discussion on approval of benefits for regular part-time employees. This specifically deals with potential dental insurance. This had passed at the committee level, and I will make the motion to approve. Am I not thinking of the right thing? You have a funny look on your face.
I think it was referred for discussion tonight and Amy was going to provide additional information.
All right, so this has to do with, I believe, dental insurance, and perhaps Amy should talk about this.
Good evening. So it was asked last week that I reach out to some other municipalities and find what others are doing in terms of part-time benefits for their employees. And I did get 18 responses, and 4 of those are from our neighboring surrounding communities. So with that, the majority of those that responded do offer some level of part-time benefits to those regularly scheduled employees working at least 20 hours a week. It seems to be a hodgepodge, if you will, of a whole different varying levels. There were some that only offer benefits to regular part-time at 30 hours a week, and a couple only to their full-time. Of our surrounding areas, we have one that offers prorated benefits at 20 hours without health insurance, and then a full benefit package if they're working 30 hours. Another of our one of our 4 surrounding areas, we had 20 hours with prorated accrued leave, and then a full benefit package after 30 hours. Another offers health insurance after 30 hours and a full benefit package at 40 hours. And one does not have regular part-time. So that's a little bit of what's going on around us and how that compares to City of Onalaska. So we basically have 4 tiers, if you will, of levels of benefits without getting too detailed. Obviously, we've got our full benefit package to those employees working full-time. Then we've got a limited package for those working 30 hours, which is prorated accrued leave. And then some of the benefits that are associated with that, for example, health insurance at 50%, dental insurance, and so on. And then for those that are working 20 hours a week or less, there are even more limited benefits. So just a quick overview of what we offer our part-time employees. And at this point, I think what the interim city administrator was bringing forward was offering dental insurance to those employees working less than 30 hours as we currently do now. I guess from my perspective, I would suggest moving either all of our part-time benefits at 20 hours a week for those regularly scheduled employees, or perhaps keeping it as it is. Again, moving out that one piece. Again, we have all different levels of benefits. I guess that would just be one more thing to administer if we did go that way as well.
Thank you. Alder Knott?
For point of clarification, when you were talking about some of the other municipalities, you mentioned health benefits a lot. Were you including dental in that, or?
So again, I did not a real exhaustive, in-depth survey of this information. Some offer it, some do not. So again, it's it's really dependent on that particular organization and whether or not they even offer dental insurance.
Okay. Approximately how many did?
For their 20 hours a week or just in general?
20 hours a week, and you broke it down 20 hours and 30 hours. I guess that's what I'd be looking at.
There's at least 4 that offer it at 20 hours, 1 that offers it at 24 hours. So that would be 5 that offer it with less than 30 hours. Again, some of them, I wasn't real clear of what their level of benefits were, but at least 5 of them offer it less than 30 hours.
Again, how many answered?
18.
18, 5 of 18. Okay, thank you.
Amy, I think you had mentioned we have 3 regular full-time employees at 20 hours. How many do we have at 30?
We have 0 at 30. We have 1 at 20, 1 at 25, and 1 at 28 hours a week.
I thought you had mentioned that we offered 50% rate for 30 hours, but we don't have anybody who qualifies for that.
We offer that. So employees that work 20 hours through, it's at a 50% rate. I believe it's at, I can't recall the exact hours, but it's at a 50% rate if they are working, I want to say either 20 or 30 hours and above, not full-time. And then it's at 25% that the city pays if it's less than 20 hours. So I believe it's from 20 to 38 approximately where they pay 50%.
That we already have.
And we have 3 that fit into that category. Or actually, to back up, we have a handful. It's a little bit, I'm oversimplifying it, I think, a little bit too much. If we have employees that are participating and eligible for WRASC, our Wisconsin retirement system, by state statute, we have to offer them health insurance. And that threshold is usually, generally speaking, 24 hours a week. But there are some exceptions to that. And that's where we have some other employees that fall into that, where we do have to offer health insurance. So we have approximately 5, I want to say, that we have to offer that are not full-time.
But we were talking about dental.
Correct.
Any other questions? Alder Wolf?
Thank you, Your Honor. So Amy, of those 18 municipalities or counties or whatever we may want to call them, were the majority of them comparable in size to as far as population with the city of Onalaska? Or they were kind of all over the place?
There's about 12 of them that were less than 40,000 in population. And I did have 3 that were over that range in population.
And very many that were close to us at all, or?
Absolutely, yes. We had a number of them that, and these were municipalities or villages that were close to us in population.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, Alder Knott?
Of the 5 out of 18 that did offer some type of dental insurance to their part-time folks at either 20 or 24, how many of those were at the 40,000 population or less threshold?
1.
1, okay.
It seems that the majority of those that responded were closer to our size. The larger ones tend to offer it at more of 30 hours or 40 hours.
But you're talking health insurance overall in that statement.
I'm just talking insurances and benefits overall. Again, we're talking accrued leave, insurance of all sorts. Again, I didn't get a complete breakdown from each of those respondents. I certainly, with given a little bit more time, could delve into this deeper if you're looking for more.
Okay, but it was one municipality at 40,000 population or less that offered some form of dental insurance for part-timers.
I believe so, yes.
Okay, Alder Jurassic?
Amy, the people, I think you said there were 3 that are at 20.
Between 20
Possibility of
and,
moving them up 10 hours or not?
not increasing their hours, but just offering them additional benefits. One of them being dental insurance. Currently, dental insurance is only offered if you're working 30 or more hours.
Alder Stevens?
My understanding is that the total cost, if everybody were to utilize this, was about $2,500 a year, and that's assuming everybody uses it. It seems like it's fairly negligible, but on the other hand, that's money that might go to COLAs or, other wages. I am cognizant that some of the people that were used to be full-time employees and were pushed down into a part-time status. So there's an element of, maybe it's kind of like throwing salt on the wound where we're taking away additional benefits. Like you can still have your health care, but now you don't get dental. It's not a large cost, and not everybody was part-time by choice. If dental ever got to be where, like healthcare, the costs were run away, once we have a benefit, that does not mean that we have to have that forever. I mean, if it got to be onerous, or we had a large, the employee staff gravitated to be more part-time than full, then we can always revisit this. But it's in my mind not a lot of money, and there's actually no guarantee that anybody's going to take the benefit, and I don't think it hurts to offer it.
Let's hear from our city attorney, Amanda Jackson.
I just wanted to point out a couple of things. So this did arise because we did have an employee inquire, a part-time employee inquire about the possibility of dental insurance. So I do think there's at least a desire of one of our part-time employees for that benefit. Also, given our current budget constraints and ongoing constraints placed on the state, I do think that the future will likely bring more regular part-time people to the city. And so I think that anything we can do, even nominal, to encourage these people to stay is worth it. $2,500 is a fairly nominal cost. And quite frankly, were we to lose even one of those regular part-time people, it would cost us more to recruit a new person to fill that spot from the $2,500 to offer it to all three for a year. And so just to keep that in mind as well, that recruitment is a significant amount of time, effort, and money on the city's behalf. And so I think that small wins like this for the employees, I think, go a long way.
Alder Not, and then we'll come back over to the other side. Sorry.
Yeah, so, just, so we need to have eyes wide open though, that is, if we decide we're gonna move forward on this, that $2,500 in 2022 is, it's not gonna be $2,500 in 2032. So, and it's very difficult to take away a benefit once it's given. So if we're gonna do this, we need to understand it's probably they're gonna be there forever. If everything becomes more expensive over time. So just something we need to be aware of when we're making a decision.
Thank you. Alder Stokes?
I'd just like to say that I agree with Matt. This would be
Alder Jurassic?
Do you have any perspective as far as full-time people going down to part-time? Is that number is going to increase from 3 to 7?
Well, I think to reiterate what Amanda had said, I mean, that possibility is certainly something that maybe in the future, again, as it gets more and more difficult to fill positions, offering part-time as an option may be desirable to some candidates. But again, at this point, I don't know of any, but certainly it might be something in the future.
Okay, anyone else? Alder Smith?
I'd like just to add that I think it would be a good marketing perspective, just to say that, you do have a potential dental benefit from a part-time perspective. So I would support doing it in the long term.
Okay, probably we would need a motion. Or do we need to do it today?
We need to figure out how many at what threshold. Is it 20, 25, or 30 hours? So
what were you proposing? And do you need a motion? Those are the two questions.
This actually came from, I don't know, Amanda, if you want to take that one.
I mean, I think that we would do a 50-50 split. So we currently, starting at 20 hours, we currently offer full-time employees, we pay their entire dental premium. So I think what we were looking at would be, and what we ran numbers on, Sabrina, correct me if I'm along was that we would split the premium with them. So the city would pay 50% of their premium, starting at 20 hours.
So employees working, regular employees working between routinely scheduled between 20 and 40 hours would be offered the dental benefit at 50%
Yes.
it.
cost.
That's what the 25 number would be.
And what Mayor Kim just said, that is my motion. Because I can't say it more eloquently than what you just said.
I just repeated what I heard. Okay, we have a motion on the floor by Alder Wolf. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
It's been seconded by Larry Jurassic. So the motion on the floor is to offer dental benefits to those regular part-time employees working between 20 and 40 hours per week with a 50-50 split. Any more discussion? Alder Stevens?
So, Amy, are you good with the 20 hours? Because that seems very generous. I was thinking more along the lines of 25, but I guess I'm not gonna dally over 5 hours, but
And right now, our current tier of benefits, we've got 40 hours, we got 30 hours, we got 20 hours, and then a select few under 20 hours. So that seems to coincide with our level of benefits that we offer. We do offer, we've got cancer insurance, critical illness, accident insurance that we offer at 20 hours. So this would just slap onto that. And again, we have that special concession if they are enrolled in WRS that we have to offer health insurance. And with that is life insurance in our flex spending account. So there's a number of other caveats, but 20 seems a good number.
20 would be your preference over 30, and we don't want to create a new category at 25 then, right?
Correct. I will need to renew our contracts. We are currently in open enrollment for 2023 and that ends next Friday. So assuming I can get our contracts renewed and get this information out to those individuals. Or is this something that would need further action as far as policy changes? I guess I'm just looking for a direction as far as how to proceed after tonight. This does pass.
Alder Not?
Yeah, so I think I don't know, I'm still undecided honestly, but the only thing that's in the mix for me is that, based on discussions previously, we have a significant budget shortfall facing us this year and on the out years if we don't figure out a way to address it. And we're adding to it if we put this forward. And we don't even have a solution yet for that budget shortfall. So, if I vote in favor of it, I guess I'm going down a path of just faith. We're going to figure it out because we have a significant budget shortfall right now and we got to figure it out. And again, this is adding to that number. And that's why I'm torn on it. I'm not opposed to it, except for on the reality of the finances.
Okay, any other discussion? Alder Jurassic?
Yeah, the experience I have is a wife that was a dental assistant for 30 years. And she would always come in with stories of people that didn't have insurance and how bad it was for them. It's just food for thought.
Thank you. Right, are we ready to vote? Okay, and then, so Amanda, if this is approved, are there any additional considerations or would Amy be able to move forward with enacting it right away? Are there any other related policies or?
I think I would ask that it be effective immediately. That would allow Amy to go ahead, get the contracts updated, offer it to those people available, and then we will bring you back a policy reflecting that next month.
Okay, Alder Not?
Amy, if I were to make a motion to delay this until next month so that we can also address the budget shortfall to figure out how we're going to do this, what would that mean on the ground for you, another month delay?
Certainly, we could certainly reach out to our carrier to amend our current Delta Dental contract and then reach out to those specific regular part-time employees and allow a special enrollment for them for 2023, given that they've got enough time before the end of the year enrolled, which I believe.
So you could make it work with them another month to think on it? Yeah, or actually for us to think on it, I guess. All right, well then, I'm going to make a motion to amend
Okay, go ahead.
the other motion that we were to delay approval on this until next month in order to address the budget shortfall to make sure that we can pay for this before we vote on it. That's my amendment.
So I'm just gonna ask Amanda, is that the correct thing to do? Wouldn't you just table it? You wouldn't make a motion to amend it if you just want to suspend the vote. You would make a motion to table
Then I'll make them,
to next meeting. To refer or to table would be similar.
Before that table comes in, because there's no comment on tabling, if there's a motion.
Yeah.
I'm gonna slide in there real quick. Thank you. Just to note, if there is concern, and I certainly understand what Aldernaut is saying, but we've already under consent just spent $19,000 on consent item 6F. So if we're going to be concerned about where the money's coming from, was that paid for?
well, the issue, so we did not have that.
The pay increase.
Moving people from everybody back to January like we used to do it.
Well, isn't that already in the budget shortfall number that you presented to us?
That is in the presented budget.
That's what I thought. So
Presented
it's already
budget.
accounted for, yeah.
If I can speak.
Yes, Sabrina, please. Speak
Thank
to
you.
this.
Thank you, Your Honor. So $2,500 in our budget, which is over $10 million in the general fund, we could find it.
Well, I understand that it's a small amount, but my concern is we're short 260,000 plus right now and we're adding to it.
You're getting a balanced
Yeah.
budget, but it's with the recycling fee. So you are getting a balanced budget in these books that I'm going to hand out to you soon.
Okay,
Balanced, yeah.
all right, then I'm comfortable, yeah. I rescind my amendment that was wrong anyway.
Okay. Crossing that out, I got a lot of scribbles here. So the motion on the floor is to approve the benefits for the regular part-time employees. Those regular part-time employees working 20 to 40 hours a week will be offered dental insurance at a 50-50 split, and this would be effective immediately. Last chance for discussion. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Those opposed say no. Motion carries unanimously. Thank you, Amy, for explaining that to us.
Thank you, Amy.
Okay, that brings us to item 10, Judiciary Committee.
On 10A ordinance 1742-2022, this is an ordinance that was talked about last month, referred back to staff to have the wording changed, and now has come back up. I make a motion to approve this.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion on the floor by Alder Stokes. It's been seconded by Alder Wolf. Is there any discussion? Okay, all those in favor of approving ordinance 1742-222, 2022, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say no. Motion passes unanimously.
Item 10B is ordinance 1746-2022. This again is an amendment that was talked about last month, referred back to staff for rewording, and now has come forward this month again. Motion to approve.
Second.
Thank you. We have a motion on the floor by Alder Stokes. It's been seconded by Alder Jurassic to approve. Is there any discussion? All those in favor of approving ordinance 1746-2022, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say no. Motion carries unanimously.
Final is 10C ordinance 1752-2022. This relates in part to 10B and is basically a change in the coding of that, being we have taken the standard away in 10B. So I make a motion to approve.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion on the floor, but it's been approved by Leanne, or made by Leanne Stokes, seconded by Tom Smith. Is there any discussion? Not seeing or hearing. Any in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say no. Motion carries. Moving on to Board of Public Works, Alder Knott.
Item 11A is review and consideration of purchasing street lighting equipment for 2023 East Avenue and Riders Club Road Compact Roundabout Project. And I will turn this over to Jared.
Thank you, Alder Knott. This request was included in the packet tonight, did not make it to Board of Public Works because we received information on the project on lead times for some of the lighting equipment for this proposed project. Since it was included in the packet, I did receive word at 3:30 today from the Wisconsin Department of Transportation that it would not be eligible for reimbursement for this purchase. So I'm recommending that we take no action on this, and we will bid these items with the project as we had originally designed the project. We most likely will add temporary lighting as a bid item to hopefully be able to ascertain a schedule that we will be able to meet the salute to the fourth. So we're working through this. This is fluid right now. I think you're going to see this on a lot of our projects coming forward. Lead times on various items is a concern as far as we're doing projects. So I don't need any action on this tonight. We will be bidding it as we had originally thought.
Thank you, sir. And then if we could move on to item B.
It's an update on leaf vacuum service. And again, I'll turn that over to Jared.
Thank you. The city's contractor, Harder's Quick Cleanup, has been our solid waste contractor for almost 10 years on the current contract and 15 years total. They have started leaf vacuuming service on Monday. If you go to the city's website and the front page, we do have the leaf icon up and running. So you can see it's the orange leaf on the front of the city's website. If you click on that, you can actually go to see where the leaf service has been. We will be running the service for a minimum of 7 weeks, which will take us through Thanksgiving. This first pass is always a quick pass, but we would like to stay ahead of the curve because we always get to the point where the end of October, first part of November, we always get bogged down because that's when we really see a lot of the leaf material get moved out to the curb line to get picked up, and we always take about 3 weeks to make a pass through the city. So just want to update everyone. We will have the website updated on a daily basis to show progress.
Thank you. Alder Wolf.
Thank you, Your Honor. So Jared, if you could tell me, so you said 7 weeks, and what is the situation that it'll cease if we receive, how much snow? Is it 2 inches?
Typically, if we receive 2 inches or more of snow, we will cease operations, but we haven't had that for many years. You know, it depends on the snow, it depends on the ice, depends on the cold temperatures. It just, there's a variety of factors that go into it, but as a rule of thumb, 2 inches of snow is when we would cease.
And if it were to snow and then we're done, then what, then are homeowners to bag everything? Or what do we do then?
So as part of the leaf, as part of our yard waste service, starting when the leaf pickup does begin, we do also pick up bagged yard waste, which will include leaves. So our contractor will be picking up bags along with the yard waste cart for the duration of the yard waste service. We have scheduled that the yard waste service for bags and the automated containers will continue most likely through the last week of November, which is actually the week after Thanksgiving. So that is our plan now, but that also can change if we get 6 inches of snow the week before Thanksgiving and it stays with us, then we'll probably suspend operations.
It's nice that we have a backup plan in case we get hit with some snow. And lastly, if we have to do, because I know in past years, on occasion, we've had to order an extra pass, and that's usually about $5,000.
So in previous years, we have ordered an extra pass. We did not last year. We do budget for an extra half of a pass. So we do have that budgeted for 4.5 passes, and we always keep that as a contingency once we get to that Thanksgiving area, depending on what our 10-day forecast is, what our leaf situation is, because every year is different. Been through this many years, and every year is a different year as far as how fast they come down, they don't come down, how fast people get them to the curb. If you get a 70-degree day in the middle of November, it's amazing that all kinds of leaves make it to the curb because everybody's enjoying being outside and raking leaves. If it's 25 degrees and cold and the leaves are half frozen to the ground, things come to a screeching halt, even though we're picking up leaves. So every year is a little different, and we'll just see how this one pans out.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Sharon, can you clarify? So the first pass started yesterday?
That is correct.
Okay, and then Alder Stokes and then Alder Stevens after that.
Just have a question, Jared. Is the information that you gave about the bags and how if we got 2 inches of snow, you would still pick up, is that on the website that people would be able to know that information?
So the recycler includes the information, does not include the 2 inches of snow. That's just a rule of thumb. So we don't really post that. But the recycler does include dates for yard waste pickup and when we, start the services. It will also get updated on the recycling hotline. That's another avenue that we have that a lot of people try and use to call for updates also.
Thank you.
Alder Stevens, did your question get answered?
No, I just, being that we live in Wisconsin and anything is possible in the weather, in the event of a freak 2-inch snowstorm, say in October. I mean, I remember trick or treating once in the snow, and then it turns into the 70s a couple days later. Would we resume, or is that 2 inches and we're done?
If we look at the 10-day forecast and we do get a night where we get 2 inches of snow and we can see that the forecast is going to continue on in a positive manner and temperature wise for people to continue to get leaves out, we may suspend it for a day or two and then we'll start up again. Typically the reason for the snow is if the snow is on the ground and it gets cold and it freezes, it takes about 3 to 4 times the amount of time and effort to get the leaves up into the vacuum. So it really is I've actually seen it over the years where you can go around after they vacuum for the day and you can see bare spots where they've picked up leaves because there's been a skiff of snow on the ground, but they're still picking up leaves. But you can see where the leaf piles were because they've picked up the snow with the leaves. So we won't stop just because we reached 2.1 inches of snow at the La Crosse Airport. We won't suspend operations, but we'll use that as a measuring metric.
Okay, Elder Wolf.
One last leaf pass, vacuum pass. And Jared, and forgive me in advance, I may have misheard you, but I looked up the recycler and it does say if we receive 2 or more inches of snow, the leaf vacuum service will cease. And then it does talk about if it occurs, you may utilize the yard waste service. I don't know if you said the opposite, or you may have said that, I just didn't hear it right.
Yeah, if we have it in there for 2 inches, we try to just warn people that way, then we're not surprising people, but we use that as I stated, a metric, not as a measuring tool, not just as it shall cease at 2 inches.
And for the most part, this has worked over time for the most part. Would you say yes?
Yeah, we've made many alterations over the years and try and offer the best service we can with what we have in front of us. But the map has helped. I think the map has helped on the website with people being able to follow. We already had calls last week, people wondering where the leaf icon was on the website because it wasn't there. So people definitely know about the map, and that has helped over the years. But it's still a service that is very hard to give everyone exactly what they want.
Thank you.
Thank you. And thank you for taking the extra time to explain it. Hopefully people are listening, or at least all of us now are up on it. It kind of caught me off guard when I started getting calls. People panicked. They saw the leaf truck go by and they're like, none of my leaves to the curb.
7 more weeks.
So everyone will be raking leaves this weekend. Okay, item 12, Alder Stokes.
Yes, this is something that occurred in the last meeting. Sure. A request came in from the Onalaska Art Keepers about placing rocking horses in Dash Park. So we had talked to Amanda regarding this, and it didn't really look like this was an actionable item, but Amanda indicated that it is an actionable item. So I make a motion to approve. And then have more discussion.
I will second for discussion purposes.
Okay, we have a motion on the floor by Alder Stokes. It's been seconded by Alder Wolf. Is there discussion? Alder Stevens?
Thank you, Your Honor. So I'm wearing a couple hats tonight. I am the president of the Unalaska Art Keepers. I don't know that it would be appropriate for me to vote on this issue, so I'm going to recuse myself. I was at that meeting, however, and I believe there are some questions still in the works with regards to legality and insurance. I don't know if they have been answered. It would probably make sense to refer this, but for the sake of discussion, I'm going to go sit over there. If anybody has any questions, I would be happy to answer them.
Thank you, Alder Stevens. Discussion can come back to chair.
Yes, I would like to ask Dan Wick to come to the podium and just talk regarding this and maybe give us some insight as to the feelings of the Unalaska Art Keepers and the feelings of the city.
Thank you, Alder Stokes. So this item came before the park board. This item has been in conversation with myself for probably 6 months. So, you know, what the art keepers are looking for is to put these rocking horses in. The request is for Dash Park so that people can sit on them, enjoy that form of recreation when it's there. When we got this request, I did talk to Civmic, which is in the notes from the minutes. That, you know, they had questions. They came back and said, you know, will the art keepers, you know, sign a hold harmless so the city's not liable. At the board meeting that night, if you look at the minutes, the comments made by the art keepers, they don't have the ability to do that. So what they would like to do is build them and give them to the city. So that's kind of where we're at. Amanda and I have had conversations. I don't want to speak for Amanda. It really comes back to a policy decision from the council. Do we want it or not? Recreation immunity, I believe, would protect us in this situation. If we had them, you are taking a risk. If you get on them, you fall off and get hurt. But so it ultimately comes back, I believe, to this board to having a decision. Is this what we want or not?
Okay, you already spoke once and Alder Knott has been waiting.
Oh.
Were you waiting?
Yeah, I mean.
thought you
I had
were
some comments,
first,
but I have no
really.
problem if Leanne goes first. Yeah. So I have a fair amount of questions, I guess. I'll just start shotgunning them out. How long would these be staying with us? Who is going to emplace them? Who's going to maintain them? It sounds like the answer is they're going to be a gift to us. So it sounds like we'll be maintaining them. Who's going to put them in? I assume that means when it comes time to take them out, that we'll have to remove them. What is the cost to the city of accepting this free gift is ultimately what this comes down to. I don't know, you mentioned something about liability, kind of answered that. But obviously, if we accept them as a gift, we're going to have to maintain them, possibly store them. Yeah, and then I guess I also have a couple questions along the lines of how do these horses, how do they fit within the aesthetic of Dash Park? And by placing them, is this going to impede any of the foot traffic areas or other seating areas in order to put them in?
Okay, let's have Amanda speak. You want to go first or Dan, one of the two?
I'll answer the first half of the questions and I'll let Dan jump in on the second half. So I think this would be much like the Christmas tree in Dash Park. So to your point, the city would be responsible for maintaining these. They would be responsible for storing them. I assume that would end up being likely at the Public Works facility. So if Jared wants to jump in on that. And also likely placed in the park by a combination of Public Works and Parks Department employees.
And the location that they'd like to place them is down where the holiday tree is placed. So they'd like it put in there basically when the holiday tree is not intact or not up in the park. park.
So they'd stay in over winter?
Well, the tree would go up, roughly November and, comes down, mid-January. I'm not saying we'd put it out there during our snow removal time. We'd ideally would probably go out sometime March, April, and probably would be brought back in October timeframe, just rough dates looking at it.
So city employees would, again, having to be every year in placing, maintaining, removing, and storing these. I assume they take up a fair amount of space. Okay.
Okay, Alder Jurassic?
The location is what I have trouble with. Dash Park, what are you looking at other than the street? I can see putting it across on the other side over there overlooking the water. Yeah, but there's nothing to look at. And I think it'll be more of a vandal problem than anything else. With the high school that close, kids are gonna be kids and they're gonna try to vandalize this project as much as possible, unless we can really scare it down, and then there's no way of really rocking it. I don't know what I've seen so far, but there probably is a way. That's it.
Are you done? I didn't mean to, I'm sorry. I thought you were done. Alder Smith?
Yeah, that would be my concern thing that Larry mentioned. It just seems like there's such a condensed space in that area. I mean, I just look at the concerts that we have on Tuesday nights and where people are and where, they congregate and they sit kind of where they are, which is nice. You can park where you want. And it just seems like there'd be more obstacles and potential for busyness. And I don't know, I like the idea of across the street better because it just seems like there'd be more space. And it's, to me, the aesthetics, so having rocking horses when I drive by that park, just to me, and maybe it's just me, I mean, I'm not against it. It just doesn't seem, it just seems odd. That's my
Anyone
thought.
else?
There's been actually at the park board meeting, the term rocking horses has been used repeatedly, and that is what was on the agenda. Board Commissioner Patrick McGuane came up with an idea to have rocking sunfish to stick with the Onalaska theme. And we were going to go with that. And the artist and the carpenters were embraced that. So it's no longer rocking horses, it's rocking sunfish. Additionally, if you think about tourism in the city where people stop and what they do stuff, a lot of people will get their picture taken in front of the Sunny the Sunfish. We think this would be something that people would, take pictures and send it to their friends at home. It would be rocking sunfish for both adults and smaller kids. And if I can address maybe a couple of the other points, in terms of maintenance, like once these have exceeded their life, there's no expectation for maintenance. Like once they're done. Just throw them away, sell them, or do whatever you will. The idea is that it would be something fun for families to do. I don't know that we're wedded to Dash Park, but the idea is that there's nothing much to do there unless there's like a concert happening or there's some sort of event happening. And this would be something that families could do while they're there. So.
Thank you. Do you have any other questions for Alder Stevens? Or do you want to just speak? Go ahead. Leanne Stokes.
I just wanted to clarify with Dan, if these are donated to us, to the city, their city property, then we would be the ones that determine where this. Determine where they go, when they go out, when they're.
That was the discussion. It came forward as a request to go at Dash Park. When they go out and how long they're out, that's open for, during the board meeting, the art keepers were not like, they expect them out on this date and be brought in at this date. It was kind of open with our staff.
But would they also be okay with not being there?
We haven't broached that subject. You have a member of that group right here that probably could answer that best, but that's, that was also discussed at the park board, is that the best location or could be placed other places?
Okay, let's go back to the Alder questions here. Let's go with Tom Smith and then we'll head down that way.
Just to follow up on that, Dan, if we have them in Dash Park, they'd be secured somewhere, right?
Yeah, the
Locked in
comment,
like where
the
the
comment,
tree is?
yeah, the comment that was made, there would be some type of a tether that would run, that would connect them so that, somebody couldn't grab them and.
So they'd be stable. I mean, somebody just couldn't walk off with them if they wanted to. I'm sure they'd be heavy anyhow.
Correct.
And then the other thing, the only thing which is already talked about is the liability insurance. Having been in the insurance business, that would probably be my biggest concern is some, even though we have opportunities that, the liability for the city would be probably.
Yeah, but I think recreation immunity in this situation would protect us, with it, that they're assuming that risk. If we know that there's not true negligence with it, that we know that they're safe, we do, a monthly inspection to give them a once over, I believe we'd be covered in
Our
that.
insurance will cover vandalism.
Well, that would be a question that we'd have to come back to. If they get vandalized, then we would potentially have to.
That would be part of our insurance policy too. Yeah.
Yeah,
There's no cameras there, correct?
there is no cameras in Dash Park, correct?
Okay, thank you.
Okay, we're gonna head down this way. Alder Wolf?
Thank you, Your Honor. So first of all, I think this is a very interesting proposal. I would like to thank Oak for bringing this forth. I personally know a number of the members and, they've been making great contributions to our community. I do have some concerns and alders have already expressed some of them. I agree with Alder, that was my first concern, the aesthetics. And the location. One thing I remember, and correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. Wick, but didn't Oak offer to maintain them like in 5 years, or if they needed some touch up or something? I think that was in the minutes or something. Do I have the right project? I thought they offered.
Our board had it in the minutes, yeah.
Right. They did offer like if they needed to be touched up or something. So, yeah, so that's one thing. I guess my biggest one concern that I share over and over and over again through the years is I always have a concern that we're asking staff to do more. We always talk about limited resources that we have. We're asking them to do more. And I'm always concerned about increasing their burden. I'm concerned about storing. And I know Oak presented at Parks Board this last month, and they did talk about the footprint, that they were stackable. So it did sound like it sounded to me like it was more compact, but it's still items, that they have to be moved, and that concerns me. Is all of that. The other thing I had concern about is, I guess the overall picture is what I'd like to hear from Parks Board and maybe eventually come to council is, what is the true vision for Dash Park? What is the true vision for Great River Landing? I know that we talked about, I think it was at Parks recently when you were doing the budget, and there was a discussion about purchasing a couple benches. And there was a concern, I think someone said then, Dan Wick, that just don't want to plop benches anywhere. Like, what is the plan? Because you just don't want to do a piecemeal. So that's kind of my concern. Like, what is the long range plan? I don't think aesthetically that they fit there. I've heard at least one person has thought, would a good place to be donated to the school district, maybe at their playgrounds, or maybe one at a playground throughout the city of Onalaska. Maybe it's what do you call it when you have to go hunt? Like some type of a hunt, and you have to find out whichever, go from park to park to figure out where a scavenger hunt. Thank you. Maybe there's a name the rocking fish contest or something. I don't know. But I think it's a very interesting proposal. I just don't see it. And the other thing about when I think about Dash Park, now this is just me, but I look at it as more of a reflective park. It also turns it into an entertainment / community gathering 13 months out of the year, thanks to the Onalaska Hilltopper Rotary and all the work that goes into that. 13 Tuesdays every summer. I just don't see it as a playground. I think about those individuals who are eating on that patio at David Ray's, and to possibly hear that noise right underneath them, where kids should be able to be kids. If they want to scream when they're rocking the fish or the horses or whatever, I think they should be able to do that. So, so those are my concerns.
Okay, Alder Knott?
Yeah, so if we were to approve this, actually it's extending on, I think, what Alder Wolf was kind of saying here too. Seeing what one of the design looked like, I understand that there will be many different designs. That's the whole idea of this, is to kind of, be diverse on what it looks like. The one I saw was very whimsical, kind of childlike I'm wondering if we approve this, that the better location might be in one or more of our play area city parks, if that makes sense. I mean, I've seen in the past, actually, I think, what was it, Lacrosse did a while back where they're all over town and stuff. So I mean, you could actually divide them up even if you wanted to. But I don't think Dash Park is the right fit. I don't even know if the landing across the street is the right fit for me. This is more of a child thing. But I'm actually, I think I'm going to be opposed to this. And the reason I say that is what I found out after several years on the Park and Rec Board, Park Rec and Library Board, is that free gifts are rarely free. And it's free to accept, but then from that point forward, the cost is all ours. I'm just seeing install, maintain, remove, store, install, maintain, remove, store, year after year after year. And Alder Wolf also had mentioned about, more and more workload going on to a finite set of staff as well. So I think that the cost is going to be too high on this. I think it's a great offer. I don't want to, the folks who are making this offer, I think is very generous of their time and talents to do that. I just think that it's not a good fit for the city personally. As far as the one question about what we would do if they were vandalized, it would be whether or not it was a simple vandalization where either us or the art keepers could fix, or if it's not, then we would dispose of it because it's our property and just get rid of it. So, yeah.
Okay, let's go to Alder Jurassic and then we'll go to Alder Stokes. And then since she's on the committee, and then we'll try to wrap it up. Go ahead, Alder Jurassic.
Steve, you mentioned the cost of things once it's given to you. Question I have is, what is the status right now on Sonny the Fish? Is that going to be moved?
We're still working through that process.
How much money are
Concept
you
plan.
talking about roughly moving it?
That's not on the agenda.
Yeah, it's not on.
No, it's not on the agenda. That's the point I'm trying to make, is that if we put something in now, 4 or 5 years later, we ought to change to move it. That's the cost you're talking about in the future. And I'm going along with Steve that I can't see it right now. I have.
Okay, thank you. Alder Stokes?
Sorry. I know that there seems to be more questions than answers sometimes, so I'm not sure that the reason that I voted for it to come through is because I wanted to get it to council. I wanted council to be able to express their opinions on it. I would like to hear more from the art keepers as to what their vision of this is. If they do give it to us, are they then walking away from it and not, other than the maintenance, but not having any strings attached to it as to where it is or what we do with it or things like that? I think that would be my recommendation is, and I don't know how you would go back. I'm not sure how we would.
Just table it.
Well, I
finish
mean,
this.
all we'd have to, we could say that we're gonna put it back. We could either just table it to next month. We could put it back to the Park Rec and Library Board. You could have a directive that we'd like to see some kind of memorandum of understanding, which outlines each party's role in the future. Amanda, you want to toss out any other ideas, or Dan?
Yeah, I just want to say, I think personally, I appreciate the opportunity to look at an active art installation. It's not something that we have here. And so I appreciate that Oak put this together. It appears they've gone pretty far down the path. And I'm wondering if it wouldn't make sense moving forward if there was some kind of a liaison between the city and Oak. I don't know. I appreciate Mr. Stevens is the board president and also on the Common Council, but I think that's a hard role perhaps sometimes to be in, and perhaps it would be better served if there was a staff member that could be sort of a liaison to Oak to help them kind of vet some of these ideas from the city's side.
Good idea. I think it's a good idea.
I guess I was under the impression that Dan was already doing that. I mean, it sounds like Dan has been talking with them
they came through with this idea. You know, this isn't an idea for me to say yes or no to. This is again, a policy decision that would come before the council to have.
Okay, Alder Jurassic.
Yeah, since this is coming from the art board, I would personally like to see something more like what Lacrosse did with their cranes, where different companies would go ahead, purchase a crane, color it, paint it, and do the same thing with the fish.
Well-
And then put that throughout the city instead of having something that we have to worry about liability and things like that.
Thank you for
way the
that.
Art board could be more involved into it.
Right, but this isn't really a brainstorming session. What we're just looking at here is if we want the Onalaska Art Keepers to move forward and Dan in cooperation to move forward with placing the rocking horses or whatever they may be in Dash Park, or if we have a different course of action, we would prefer. The motion on the floor is to approve the request from the Onalaska Art Keepers on placing rocking horses in Dash Park. That is the motion on the floor. Alder Stokes?
I like Amanda's idea about the liaison. I don't think that Dan really can be considered that because he's not going to their meetings. I would assume that the liaison would be allowed to go to their meetings and a staff member would be allowed to go to their meetings. So that would be different than what Dan's role is right now. Thank you.
Well,
Wick. Yeah.
I mean, we have a lot of,
Hands.
we have a lot of community organizations, and I don't know that we're going to designate a staff person to go to all different community organizations meetings. So I guess you'll have to further define what that means. Alder Stevens?
Thank you. I guess just for the record, I am running the Onalaska Art Keeper meetings, and I mean, normally if this were any other community group, if they have I don't think it's customary for the city to send representatives out to all the, like Centering Onalaska and all the other groups. The normal channel is if there was a proposal, we would bring it forward to the appropriate, in this case, board or department. Dan Wick is pretty easy to work with, and he presented and got this on the agenda at the park board, and here we are. So I'm also easily reachable. I'm not sure that an extra person is really necessary. They can just talk to Mr. Wick, or they can talk to anyone in our organization. So anybody had any other Oak specific questions, I would probably be the appropriate person to ask.
Okay. Alder Wolf?
One concern that I have, and
Mike?
I think what I'd like to ask President of Oak, is kind of a follow-up to what our city administrator brought up was about, and I understand what you're saying. I understand that. I guess the one concern that I have is when first of all, great event Saturday. That was just my God, what a great event. I know you had some type of a picture board about future projects. And I know that they all said proposal, proposal, proposal. I guess my concern is when I've asked staff about some of these proposals that Oak has, they're not even aware of it. And I think maybe that's why our city administrator is saying maybe there should be someone from the city who's at least aware of what's going on, because didn't know that you guys are looking at proposing putting benches on the west side of the sculpture, the butterfly project along Second Avenue. You know, and when I look at this, when I read these, now, obviously, you know, two different people can look at this and see them differently. And as someone who's seemed to be in the business of defending the city of Onalaska a lot of times to the public, granted, these all say this proposal, but I know there's like calling for artists and such, people get really excited about this and they see that down there and they go, oh, wow, this is really cool. And then you come here tonight and if we act something, then it's like, oh, that darn city of Onalaska, you know, they just crapped all over whichever organization. And I don't think that makes us look good if there's that proposal out there that it looks like these are already going through. At least that when I saw these, this kind of concerned me. And I heard from other people that they had a concern because they thought this was a done deal. And I said, oh no, this is just, I said, you'll have to talk with Oak, but the city, I wasn't even aware of, I think 3 of these. And I know staff wasn't aware of some of these either. So that's my concern I have is that the public thinks that some of these are already happening and they're not. So.
Can I respond?
Okay, yeah, and let me just say too that, I mean, I think this is one thing that the people who are currently involved with Oak have really struggled with historically. You know, going back to, I mean, all the way back to the sculpture at the library, the Pan sculpture, if you're familiar with that, and then continuing with the other sculpture that we have at the Great River Landing right now. Like, it's like you have to have an idea to promote before you can gain support. But if you have an idea, you know, it's like everybody wants to shoot. It's like the chicken and the egg. What one do you have? And so I think we've always struggled with that. And I think most of us basically support having additional art and artistic opportunities in our community, but we have a hard time trying to translate that into reality. I mean, and here we are again, you know, it's a unique idea. It has merit and it has some support, but then it also has a lot of negative things. And I'll start with Amanda and then I'll go to Sabrina.
I think this is a really great discussion, but I think we're veering from what's on the agenda. And so
Yeah.
I would just like to encourage you to bring it back to the motion at hand.
Thank you. Sabrina? Ditto? Okay. Not.
So I'm going to recommend we table this. I would like to, I have an idea that I would like to discuss with the art keepers potentially to make a different offer, but they'd have to do some coordination that might make this more palatable, at least for me. So I'd like to table this for a month. You want me to say what the proposal is here? I can.
No, I'm just pausing because if you're making a motion to table, I'm waiting to see if someone is going to second it. And if someone is, then we are going to vote on that. And if it passes, it will happen.
Okay.
That's how that works. So that's why
I move to table this for one.
pausing.
I'll second it.
You have a motion on the floor by Alder Knott. It's been seconded by Larry Jurassic to table this item. And my understanding is to the next council meeting.
I think so, yes.
All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, say no. No. Motion has been tabled. There is no discussion. Am I wrong?
There's no debate.
There's no discussion when someone makes the motion to table, it just ends awkwardly.
I slid in earlier.
Okay, so that has been tabled to next month. Item 13, Human Resource Manager Report. Item A, discussion and approval of the structure to review the city administrator job description. Is Amy gonna do that? Welcome, Amy.
So it was discussed at a previous meeting of possibly putting together a committee of sort to review the job description. And so I just wanted to bring that discussion and get some guidance as to how you'd like to see that look.
Thank you.
Currently with, if I could just add more to that, with the current vacancy and the approval to move forward with filling that vacancy, there is a timeline, I guess, that I could just loosely speak of in terms of recruiting for the position, if wanting this position filled as it was previously approved by approximately June 1st of next year. Job description is the first step in reviewing that. Ideally, I think it would be best to have this position posted by the end of the year, accept applications for approximately 2 months, gives us a month to establish the interview process and hiring process. do background screening that's necessary, and then put forth an offer in order to bring that individual on board by June 1st. So again, with the job description, the goal that I, again, have in my head would be to have this finalized and have the position posted by the end of the year.
Amy, what do you feel is the ideal structure from your standpoint?
Well, being that this is the body of supervisors for that individual, a makeup of this committee of these individuals, whoever you want to designate who that is, I'm not really sure on how you like to see that. But again, being that this is the body that supervises that position, it would make sense that it be individuals from this.
If it's a different, say it was a department head's position, like how is it done then?
It would be in conjunction with the city administrator and human resources.
Okay, thank you. Alder Wolf?
Thank you, Your Honor. I'll just speak for myself. What you just kind of laid out, that timeline, I thought that sounded good, just the whole hire date by June 1st, 23. In the meantime, you can be working up the job description and the posting by the end of the year, accept applications for 2 months. I'm trying to read my shorthand. And then establish the interview process and the hiring process, and then in place by that date. So I guess that's the one question, if everyone approves that, or how we like that. And then second thing that I'd like to add is, I think you and I had talked previously, but it's been a little while. There was a possible discussion of, if we're looking at the job description and if we want to keep moving this forward, do we look at, and I'm just throwing this out there, and this is just for discussion, as it stands right now, who typically would review the job of, or the position of a city administrator would be, per our city ordinance, is the council president, the F&P chair, and I believe, I know it's kind of changed a little bit, is it the mayor and HR were mentors, or what's the phrase? I can't remember the word.
Advisory.
Advisors,
something
thank you.
like that.
I'm just thinking, for a job description, do we keep it to just the 4 for at least a job description, and then that job description would then go to F&P? It's just a thought.
I think that's the council's decision to make.
So I'm just throwing that out there as a possibility, but I'm certainly open to whatever, so. And that's just for the job description is all.
Okay, any other suggestions or ideas?
I would think that would make sense what Diane said. I mean, I think those are the key people, kind of where we had went down in the past that way. It makes a lot of sense that, the mayor would have input, and also the chair of the finance and personnel and the president. I mean, and you don't want to have too many. So I think that's a good place to start, at least get the foundation. Then you can always go from there. I support that.
So what I'm hearing is a general consensus that the timeline that you listed was fine. And we have a suggestion that the chair of F&P and the council president be the primary for reviewing and potentially updating the job description, which would then, of course, have to come back to council for approval, with the HR director, myself being on the sidelines, also giving input.
If I may rephrase, I think I misspoke. My intent was, I was just referring that you two were part of like the ordinances as the advisors, but it would be the 4. It would be the 4 of us engaged.
Okay.
That was
Okay, and that's why I was kind of restating what I had heard.
Thank you.
Okay, so be.
That is not what I meant. I thought it would be more of that, because that just makes no sense to me unless.
Okay, so I just wanted to kind of thankfully make sure we all were hearing each other. Now, Amanda has some input.
I just wanted to read the ordinances.
Okay, thank you.
So I think there's 2 applicable ordinances here. So the annual review is conducted by the Common Council President and Finance and Personnel Chair, unless they are one and the same, and then another council member other than the council president is chosen. It's actually the city attorney and the human resource manager that serve as advisors during the review. What we did change was to allow the mayor to give input during the review process. We also do have an ordinance related to a selection process for the city administrator. So our ordinance does say that anytime there's a vacancy in the office of city administrator, a nominee for the office shall be selected by a selection committee. The selection committee may delegate any duties of the selection process to city staff or working groups and may appoint nominating committees or interview panels as necessary. The selection committee will then negotiate the basic terms of the nominee's employment contract, and the final contract shall contain an additional provision as are determined by the common council, city attorney, and human resources. It does not in here appear to define who the selection committee shall be. And so I guess as we are going through this, that would be the process that we would need to follow. It does say that confirmation is by a simple majority vote. Upon confirmation, the council, the mayor shall execute an employment contract and the nominee shall assume the office. It goes through a few other things that probably aren't relevant at this point, but this is definitely set up for somebody to have an employment contract. I know that's one of the things that we've discussed off and on throughout this. So I think as you're considering these things, you may also want to consider whether or not you want to change that ordinance.
And what section is that? Could you quote that? So I can-
2.03.26. Appointment and termination is subsection B.
Okay, so what we'll say is that initial committee was the entire council. And we're hoping to reduce the size of that going forward.
Well, and as a follow-up, because of the timing of it, like if we start, if you put out to, my one concern is about continuity. I think it might be helpful for us to agree up front, because come April, when we might be in the midst of all this, we have reorg and all that mess. So different possibility of a different FNP chair, different council president, different, yeah, so I'm just a little, I have some concerns.
Okay, Amanda?
The only other suggestion I guess I would make, and not that I don't think Dan and Diane would do an excellent job, but they are both our second district reps. And so we would be limiting the council representation to one district. It may be good to have multiple districts or perhaps at least one person from every district on any kind of committee.
And I guess my only comeback to that would be as, even though we represent districts, we represent people, but we represent all of Onalaska. So,
In case one is the council president and then chair, it would make sense that.
yeah. I've never.
I don't think both of us should be, it shouldn't be exclusive either or in that case is.
Yeah.
Well, it's a council decision, so she's just giving
Just
some
the
advice.
potential for optics. is
Yeah,
all
like
I'm
just
offering.
kind of, we're trying to look at it from all sides.
Thank you.
Alder Stokes?
I agree. I think that council president. That's their role.
Deanna, is your mic on?
So I don't think it is.
Okay.
I'm sorry. I think it should be Diane and Dan, just because that's their roles. I mean, that's what they have been doing all year long on this whole thing. So I don't think it really needs to be one person from each district to the people outside of City Hall. They don't really know which district you are a lot of times. You know, I mean, they don't. So, I mean, I just think we have the people in place that will go through this the best. And right now, I think that's Diane and Dan. Thank you.
And another thing is, as we're describing this, that I was thinking of is what would help us maybe. So thinking like Diane mentioned in April, that can change. So, you know, another thing to think about is if you want the position to be the person on the committee or the person to be the person on the committee. And then what do we do if the person isn't elected, if, you know, in whatever. Not that I think, I mean, but you don't know. It's a variable in the middle of this, in the very middle of this process. Okay, let's see. Did someone who didn't speak yet on this topic? I don't think Alder Knott spoke on this topic.
Yeah, I think it should be position. But I have no problem with Diane and Dan doing this. I think by position wise, that's probably also, I agree with Leanne, that makes most sense, council president and F&P chair. And the reason I don't have any problem with that is it's going to come to us for review and final approval anyway. So we all get input. So I have no problem with it.
Okay, Alder Wolf.
So I'll go back to F&P chair, council president, and mayor and HR. 4 of us as a team, okay? And if there's any thought about anyone else, I'm just throwing that out there. Would we want to include a department head, some other department head, or not? I mean, I'm just throwing that out there just for discuss. I don't know. Okay. Okay. Throw it out there.
So would it make sense to have an odd number of people on that committee in case it comes to a vote?
Okay, let's go to Amanda Jackson.
I mean, I'm okay if you tell me no, but I feel like not having the person that's in the role right now on there is a missed opportunity to a certain degree. I mean, I feel like I would have valuable feedback in what I have found and not found as it relates to the job.
And her feedback would be both from outside looking in and inside looking out.
My only concern would be, we're talking optics again. And I'm more concerned, the eyeballs looking at you and saying, well, you know where I'm going. So, yeah, so.
I understand.
I think we can all agree on something. I just want to make sure that we kind of have our bases covered, but I think, I mean, I'm good with, I'd be good with the 4. And if anyone else wants to, I mean, if we should
Perhaps
include,
another Alder. If we added a 5th.
yeah, and I would be fine with that. Yeah,
Flexible.
I'm very
My
flexible.
time, I'm flexible. So.
So.
Okay, Amy, you want to add something?
I would just like to add in terms of human resources, the role of human resources would be simply to advise, suggest, and recommend. Again, would not have really a voting place in this again, but would they be there to bring forth any information that I can share on behalf of staff and other job descriptions? And again, keeping it in sync with our current format and things like that. But again, that would be the role that I would foresee myself.
Yeah, and I'll ditto that. Like, I mean, I feel like I would just be an advisory person. Any decisions, I think it all goes back to council. I think, I mean, we can work as a team, but it's the council's decision. So
I'll make a motion to approve the job description board or committee, whatever you want to call it is. As proposed with the 4 individuals, with Amy being a non-voting member.
Second.
So you'd have 3 votes.
Number 4. You said the 4 members.
I thought there were 4 members.
Okay, so before I move forward, I want to ask Amanda a question. So are we creating an ad hoc committee that needs to have minutes and everything then?
We for sure need to give notice.
Let's keep that in mind. Okay, Stephen, can you restate your motion? And be specific about the people.
That we form a 4-person committee to develop the job description. And I guess ultimately be timelines too, for advertising for a new city administrator, and that we do it as proposed.
How was it proposed?
I understood, Amy, I understood the council president, and I understood the F&P chair. And who was the 4th? Was it you? Was it the mayor? Yeah, and the mayor. That's what I thought. So, yeah,
Okay, so we're going with the positions then.
yes.
I seconded.
Okay, so the motion has been made to create a 4-person committee to review and update the job description, timeline. And I'll expand that to be other things as needed to move
Sure.
forward with filling the city administrator position. And the committee will consist of the HR manager, the mayor, the council president, and the F&P chair.
And my motion also was that the HR then was a non-voting advisor.
HR is non-voting advisor. Okay, that's Stephen's motion. Do we
Mayor,
have,
do you want to add a time limit on that?
I said timeline. I said job description timeline and other supporting things needed to move forward with filling the position. I think that was understood. Okay, Stephen Knott, seconded by Tom Smith. Now let me go to the attorney in case it's really relevant.
I just want to confirm, we're not creating a selection committee under the ordinance. We're creating a committee to review the job description.
Yes.
Okay. The selection committee will be a whole nother thing. Okay. All right, Alder Wolf.
So thank you. So as a follow-up, is this the committee that you wanted to be part of, that you thought you should be part of?
I think I can give Amy some feedback just internally related to
Okay.
my.
Well, and nothing
observations.
says that she can't attend the meeting.
Right, okay. Well, I just want to make sure that I don't want to have to come back and do another motion later.
Yeah, and I mean, that's kind of how I feel too about being on the committee. I feel like well, I can come and give input, but I don't necessarily have to vote. Okay, any other discussion? Does this fulfill what you need, Amy?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, all right, all in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say no. Motion carries unanimously. Thank you. Okay, item B is regarding approval of a day of vacation prize drawing at the annual employee appreciation event, October 30th, 2022. Amy.
Yeah, this was a very popular item at last year's annual event, looking to continue that tradition. Again, this is an employee appreciation event for employees and their families at the Omni Center, October 30th. You would have to be present or scheduled to work that day to be eligible to win, is how we rolled it out last year. And again, it was very popular and I think a great thing for employees.
Yeah. And I'll add that last year, the person who won it was a new employee who did not yet have any vacation days. So it was pretty cool.
I'll make a motion that we approve a day of vacation prize drawing at the annual employee appreciation event, which is on October 30th of 2022.
I second.
Okay, we have a motion on the floor by Alder Stevens. It's been seconded by Alder Stokes. Alder Not, did you?
Yeah, is there any reason why we can't amend this to make this a permanent fixture of the city going forward? I mean, if this is popular, I think it's a great idea. So why don't we just say approve it so she doesn't have to come back next year? Yeah, I'll make an amended motion that we extend this in perpetuity unless future council votes otherwise.
Okay. Okay, so the amendment is to make the motion that this is something that would be available at the annual employee appreciation event annually.
Mhm.
And there was a second. Stephen Knott made the motion. Who seconded it? Okay, Stephen Knott made the motion. Diane Wolf seconded. Okay, we're voting on the amendment. All in favor of the amendment, please say aye. Oh, sorry, discussion on the amendment. Sorry. Alder Stevens.
What happens in the event that we don't have a employee appreciation event? I mean, is that also going to be a perpetual thing? Because there's some money that goes towards funding that.
Well, that's why when I stated the amendment, I said at the annual.
Annual drawing.
Right,
Annual.
but so, well, if the event does not happen, does that mean that the
The drawing still
drawing
would.
does not happen, or does the
Yes.
drawing still happen?
The drawing would still happen. If there's no appreciation of it? Why can't we have a drawing if there's not an appreciation event? If we find that we don't have the funds to do the appreciation event, we can still show appreciation with a drawing.
I'm not opposed to this. I'm just saying that
And for clarity.
we're
Okay.
not necessarily, one
Okay.
is not necessarily a given, so.
Because it was the amendment of the. Okay,
My amendment was specific. to
so
drawing.
the amendment is to have a drawing annually
That was my intent, it was specific to the drawing.
going forward regardless of the event. Okay, just so we're all on the same page.
It wasn't necessarily my second, but I'll go along with it. Just for expediency's sakes to this evening.
Okay.
Move it
well,
along.
I mean, this meeting has been one where I've definitely not on the same page with everyone. Not that I disagree, I'm just saying like what I thought you said. Okay. So we're gonna vote on the amendment now. Is there any reason why against doing this way? No, okay. So we're gonna vote on the amendment now, and that's to say that we're good with giving away the day every year, even if we don't have a party. Right, okay. All those in favor of that, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say no. Okay, the amendment has passed. Now back to the original motion as amended. If you're in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
If you're opposed, say no. All right, the whole thing passes. Very good. Phew. Hopefully it gets easier from here. Okay. Item 14, City Administrator, A, American Rescue Plan Act ARPA Legacy Project. Amanda.
Thank you. So I did include a memo in your packet that I believe was also placed in your mailboxes to talk about the possibility of doing an ARPA-funded legacy project. So as I outlined, the former city administrator chose a path of ARPA fund utilization to reduce short-term borrowing from the city across 3 years. That plan did not necessarily involve a lot of staff or community input. That being said, though, it does have financial benefits that do make it a worthy use of ARPA funds. However, it's not the only potential use of ARPA funds. After discussion with our department heads, Omni and Parks and Recreation staff, we would like to offer an alternative option where the city would use a portion of those funds for a community project. This would be a project that, but for the use of these funds, would likely never get funded. Staff would like to support a project that would have a more meaningful impact on the community than it utilizing the money for short-term borrowing of items that we would otherwise purchase. Through many careful years of conservative planning from our former financial director and what has been carried through by our new financial director, we maintain a strong financial position and excellent bond rating. Returning to short-term borrowing sooner will not change that position. However, we do have a rare opportunity here to give a little back to our community. Many other communities are also choosing to fund similar projects using their ARPA dollars. With that, I am offering 4 projects for your consideration using a portion of the remaining ARPA funds, which is about $1.2 million. For one of these projects, the first project that we are offering is a community center renovation. Do you want me to go through each project?
What's the desire of the council? Are you familiar with the memo?
Yes.
Okay, so just list it then. If we have follow-up questions, we can come back to it.
Okay, so the first project is a community center renovation. We did estimate this would be about a $750,000 cost. However, this project does probably have the most flexibility because basically it would be to what extent we want to do these renovations. This is one of our most used facilities. It's our most rented facility. It has not been renovated in all of its many years. It does not have ADA compliant restrooms. It doesn't have a kitchen. And so these are some of the things that we would like to update with those funding dollars. We also could plan for it in a way that would allow it to be expanded as well with a potential addition in the future, which we would probably pursue grant dollars for. This is a project that we have put some effort into as we have tried to previously seek grant dollars for it, and to date have not been successful. The second project is the Empower Resiliency for City Hall. We've met with Excel and as you heard at the Board of Public Works meetings, to look at options to add solar power and battery backup at City Hall. Well, this is less of a community benefit. It would provide a great amount of resiliency to the city in event of a natural disaster. The third option would be an addition to the Omni Center West Wing. This has grown in popularity in recent years, especially with the addition of turf. The area is about 3,400 square feet. We would like to add an additional 4,000 square feet. This would allow multiple events to occur at one time. It would also allow larger sporting and dry floor events. This is especially important during times when both the arenas have ice. We receive a lot of requests that we have to turn down during winter months because we have ice in both arenas. So this would create additional space to provide other events, and it would create an additional source of revenue for the Omni Center. The last option is pour in place, putting that playground surfacing in at 3 to 4 city parks. Currently, all of our playgrounds are surfaced with wood chips. These chips erode away at the soil, creating unsafe distances between our playground equipment and the ground. Wood chips are also costly to replace and require significant man hours to maintain. Playground trends have moved to what's called pour in place, which is a bouncy rubber surface that is safer and much less maintenance. And so that runs about $25 a square foot. And so we would look at doing 3 to 4 parks with some of those money. If you have any questions on any of the specific projects, Dan or I or any other staff are available to answer any questions.
Thank you for that, Amanda. Okay, counselors, Alder not.
Yeah, so I support all of these projects are worthy, but I'd like to see them come forward and within the normal budget process. Most of them, of course, being on the Board of Public Works, it looks like, if not all of them. Yeah. My concern is, again, council can obviously change, but last year we did have, it wasn't just the city administrator who proposed this. It was a lot of discussion within the common council and a vote that took place to use the ARPA money as in lieu of short-term higher interest state loans. I know that if we were to continue this path that we proposed last and voted on last year, that just within 3 years alone, the city will have saved $270,699 in interest payments alone. And honestly, of course, this is what I asked for. So thank you, Sabrina. But I'm, thinking now I really should have been looking at 5, 6, and 7 years, because these all would be 5-year loans that would be paid off 5 years, and then the next year 5 more years, and the next year 5 more years. So unless I'm missing something, that $270,699 would actually be substantially more. No, it would not. What am I missing?
No, that is the total.
That
with
is the
all
total.
5 years of those 3 loans.
So it's over 3 for those 3 years for all 5 years. Okay.
Correct.
So it'll be saving us $270,699.02 to be exact. But by doing that, and I'm going to defer to Sabrina on this, I understand that it has implications on property values and, well, not property values, but on property taxes. Could you explain that to us again?
Yeah, absolutely. So one thing that I did hand out to you tonight is the 2022 municipal levy limit worksheet. So I'm going to put on my teacher hat here. So our levy limit, we talk about this all the time. We had, his name is it Brian Fukuda came and he presented to you all about municipal government and revenues and levy limits and things of that nature. Sorry, Carl Green, not Brian Fukuda. I'm sorry. I was thinking about both of them from my previous time at the county.
Brad Magoo.
So in regards to our levy limit, so we can only increase our operating levy by net new construction. Operating levy. Our debt portion of the levy, which you can see here on the municipal levy limit worksheet, on the front page, we add whatever our debt is, whatever our debt payments are, we can levy for those. That's really outside of net new construction. That's the only way we can increase our total levy. Granted, we have to bond for those projects or we have to do short-term borrowing. So that $270,000, when you think about that, if you just included that in regards to our mill rate, it would be like $2 on taxpayers' dollars. We don't know our mill rate yet for this year because our assessor hasn't closed with the county. But if comparing it to prior years, it's about $2 per $1,000 in regards to our mill rate.
Dollars per thousand.
So in regards to my opinion on the ARPA dollars and how we should use them going forward, I would make a recommendation that we would spend $650,000 of ARPA funding for capital projects, and then we would use the remaining for a legacy project.
Thank you. Stephen, did you want to wrap?
Just
it
one
up
last
and
thing, and yeah, I'm for just staying the course on the decision that we made last year.
Okay. Just 1 second. I want to just make a note. Okay. Okay. Who wants to talk next? Alder Stokes.
Yes, since I wasn't here last year, I wasn't part of that decision. But I think in the spirit of ARPA and what it actually is supposed to be, it's not, I don't think, supposed to be just used for anything that is not bondable. I think that we need to have some of the money be used for one of these 4 projects. Because I think that that is what this was initially meant to do, not to just have everything go to pay off debts or bonding or whatever. So I am in favor of the legacy project, just not sure which one yet, but thank you.
Okay, let's go to Alder Smith and then we'll go to Alder Stevens and then we'll go to the 2 other alders that haven't spoken yet.
Yeah, I support all 4 of these legacy projects. I think it's having the ARPA funds, of course, we're all know that, you know, we're lucky that we have that, as many communities do, but, you know, having, you know, being on the rebranding committee and just the feedback we've been getting from the community so far and how important our park and rec and how our young families coming to town and how so much visibility we get regarding our programs and our park and rec. And all these years, at least these years I've been on, how we really need to start addressing more of our park and rec programs, our parks, a lot of things that we all know they're high priority, but unfortunately with some of our budget restraints have been a little bit lower priority over other things. This gives us an opportunity to do a little bit of catching up. It's not perfect, but I think, and I can't believe this, number 1 was back in 1974, and we really haven't done anything since then. That's really bad. But I think all 4 of these are definitely worth the merit. And if we have the money, we know that this is kind of one of those once in a lifetime kind of funding that ain't gonna happen that often, that these are things that would at least give us some catch up. So between that and some of the things that we're doing, I support all 4 of these projects if we can fund them and getting it through. So thank you.
Alder Stevens.
Thank you, Your Honor. I'm inclined to agree with Alder Knott, and just in case some of the newer alders were not aware, what was voted on last year was, it was kind of a different approach and had to do with more of saving interest payments or reducing our expenses over time. Money is still spent on stuff. It's just spent on things of a more not a capital improvement nature. There are things like squad cars and radios and things that we're going to have to spend money on anyway if we want to keep up with those. And by doing them, we're taking it off of the short-term borrowing, which is a higher interest rate. So if we can reduce our net interest margin that we have to pay out, it was deemed a smarter way to do that. Now, when we're looking at, you know, just for example, tonight, here's $2,500 for employee benefits. That has to come from somewhere. So if we can find ways to pay less later and reducing your interest expenses, I mean, that's interest paid is not something that is really of great benefit to the taxpayers. So if we can make it so they have to pay less in the future, that's an approach I think that we should stay that course. I mean, it's everything on there is a good thing to do. And if we go through the capital improvements budget, I mean, everything on that whole budget needs to happen at some point or another. But we also need to take a disciplined approach. And I thought it was kind of a creative way that we can get, it was a creative way that we can reduce that interest expense that will make it easier to do some of those other projects at a later time.
Okay, let's go to Sabrina.
Thank you, Your Honor. I misspoke. It is 2 cents to every $1,000, not $2. My apologies for that. Also, the $270,000, $270,699.02. That is savings that we will have that will affect the mill rate. That will not increase what we have for operating. So it is helping essentially the taxpayer by decreasing the mill rate. But it doesn't help us with our operating. So we can't take that $270,000 and put it into our operating, if that makes sense.
Yes. Okay, Alder Wolf.
Thank you, Your Honor. As someone who considers themselves a deficit hawk, I do not like spending money. But I think when time comes for capital improvements, that is when I have no issue, when things are needed, not on a wish list. I was part of that vote last year, and I still stand by that last year. However, this is a new year. Some Michael Bublé song, it's a new dawn, it's a new day. As someone who has lived in this community for 30 years, I look at that community center, and I have to say, when I first heard about the quote unquote legacy project proposal, I have to say, I haven't been this excited about something for a really long time. Excuse me. This is something that touches every corner of Onalaska. I've been in that building. I remember my mother was really excited to be here the last 10 years of her life and participate in those programs there. I've recently been in contact with Dawn, who is at the Nutrition Center through La Crosse County. And we just spitballing just ideas and just this, that within City of Onalaska and such. And she knew nothing about the legacy project. I did not open my mouth because I knew I could not say anything until we got here tonight. But she was just giving me feedback about possible changes of what could happen at the community center. And just talk about a passionate woman about the senior population and what for just small projects that could be done with the community center that would make such a difference in people's lives. She needs to move down to Alaska. I know she said that she would be, if we were to go forward and if we were to consider the community center, she would, on her own time, be willing to come and talk to us and just talk about ideas. And she sings Dan Wick's praises, and she would just love to be part of that process because she knows the seniors. She knows what they want, what they need. You know, we sit here and we talk about the capital improvements. You know, the community center hasn't risen to that. It'll never rise to that. It'll never get on that list. You know, it's kind of like we go ahead, we do 2 police cars a year, maybe a third. You know, we do a large infrastructure road project every year, and I support those every year, and I always will. But one thing that I'm going to be approaching Board of Public Works this next time will be, you know, to look at the possibility of, you know, if we're doing those on a regular basis, you know, with all the playgrounds we have, why aren't we doing 1 playground a year also? You know, we need to keep up. And every year that we don't, we are falling behind. And one day we're going to wake up and have to pay the piper. And but regarding this project or this proposal, Sabrina, you gave a figure that you threw out a number that you would propose that we keep $650,000 for capital projects for the CIP, and then the remainder. And I come up with like, what is the number you have?
The remainder would be, I believe it's
asking.
579,000. Around 580,000 would be.
I just want to make sure that we were talking apples to apples. Thank you. And anyway, so yeah, I think they're all 4 really good projects. But the one thing I guess that really gets me going is the community center renovations. You know, when we talk about saving money, you know, you look at things that are just so inefficient, and it is becoming more and more expensive to maintain in its current condition. I'm going to throw my weight behind that. We go ahead and look at supporting our finance director's proposition of this, the possibility of that mix. I mean, I'm not married to any certain amounts, but I certainly can get behind maybe the 650 and the 579, 907 split or something. So I urge every people to look into your heart and think about the future of Onalaska and what this could mean to have a legacy project. Thank you.
Thank you. And I think Alder Jurassic is the only one that hasn't had first round, right? So
Thank you, Mayor. When this legacy project first came out, I was highly motivated for the Omni Center expansion. Since that time, and the reason why is because I was looking at it as if we expand the Omni Center, larger organizations could get in there, and that means more funds coming in. And the opposite then would be to take some of the proceeds from that and put it to a special fund just to rebuild the senior center. Since that time, I've discovered that the cost to build that addition on would probably be about 3 times more than what they have listed here. What I'd like to see is both projects. Like to at least put money aside for design of the Omni Center. Right now, as far as I know, there's nothing on paper or anything even close to being designed. And then put the rest of it into the senior center is my, thank you, Aaron.
right, Alder Not.
So when we vote on this, we're voting just whether or not we want to use money for a legacy project. I don't think we're selecting one yet today, are we?
Okay, Amanda.
I think my recommendation would be that we make the commitment to do a legacy project tonight, and then we'd like to give you more information and maybe offer you a tour of the different projects to let you gather more information.
Yeah. Okay.
Well, I think another thing too, though, is that we need to kind of, before our next public works meeting, we need to know how much money, regardless of what happens, like, we need to decide if we're going to do the legacy project and how much money we're going to commit to it with the context of the capital improvement budget. And I think that there'll be a lot of fine tuning that would have to go on after the fact. Alder Not.
Okay, so if this is approved, understand that what this means is that next year for sure, and possibly to some degree this year, we will almost certainly be using short-term higher interest state loans to move forward with our capital improvements budget. I mean, that they're interlinked. That's going to happen. All right, so that's something everyone needs to understand. And then second thing, I just wanted to, I guess, take just a minor issue with Alder Whitford. You mentioned about looking at your hearts and doing what's best for Onalaska. I think I am. We just have a different view on what is best for Onalaska. That's all. So, yeah.
Fair enough. Alder Smith.
I just have a follow-up question. I don't know if it's Dan or if it's Amanda. This number 4, that pour in place, the 3-4 park district, that's this money here, this 400,000, that's separate from that project with the Rotary, right?
Correct.
That doesn't include any of the money there. That would be something with the joint venture with them.
Correct.
Their
And
funding.
we would not do that park. We would do.
That would be
other-
outside of this. So this would be all the other parks or
It
what?
would be, and we did identify, we would want to do our newest park. So because ideally moving forward, as we replace playground equipment, we would want to look at doing older parks at that time. This would be taking our most new parks
Okay,
and updating.
that's what I thought. I just wanted to clarify. Okay, thank you.
Okay, comments, Alder Stokes.
Just wanted to reiterate that I think that we need to look at the spirit of what these ARPA funds are supposed to be. I don't think they're supposed to be just used for one purpose. And I think the legacy project is something that we should really, I'm totally in favor of this. I think that I'm leaning towards the community center, but I think that we have to make this gesture that we are going to use the complete spirit of what ARPA funds are supposed to be. And it's not just one way of looking at it and just using it for short-term loans or, not to have to bond or whatever. I'm totally thinking that, and I agree totally with Diane. I think this opportunity to have these funds is not going to come around again. And we need to take this opportunity and to make some differences in whatever project we choose, but I think we need to stay the course and use it for that. Thank you.
You're welcome. Sabrina, can you say, why did you say $650,000 for capital for this year?
That was just a number that seemed fair, like using, 2/3 of it for,
The
capital.
total money.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't have to be 650. That was just a recommendation. Just to add, to Leanne's comment regarding the ARPA funds. So ARPA funds really can be used for any capital projects, capital expenditures for the municipality. So we're not doing anything incorrectly by what we have been doing, with borrowing for our short-term borrowing, because we're using it for capital projects. Just what I've seen in discussions with other finance directors across the state, seeing their websites, they have websites that are dedicated to what they are doing with their funds. So that's kind of where my stance is with the legacy project, just being sure that, we are communicating to the public what we're doing to kind of give back to the community in regards to capital improvements and whatnot. Thank you.
Okay. I think, let me get Alder Stevens here next.
Just to maybe add on to Stephen's point, I mean, if I could make an analogy, we're talking about if the city was a household, we're saying that we're not going to pursue our plan to do the lower priced home equity debt. We want to go back to using the credit card at a higher rate. I mean, it's perhaps not as much. When you said $2, I got all excited thinking on $1,000, that's really going to add up. That seemed like it was higher. So, but the city has a lot of expenses and it all adds up. And I think it's part of our duty is to cut costs when we can. And if we can lower interest expense, that's one of the best things that we can get rid of. Other things, it costs money to run a city. You got to pay wages, you got to have benefits, you got to build streets and put gas in your fire trucks. But if you can pay less money in interest, that's my vote is to stay disciplined on that path.
Okay, Alder Not.
Yeah, and just to be clear too, we are purchasing legacy things, if you will, for the city. I mean, Dan had mentioned squad cars and radios. I mean, we have to figure out what we're going to do this year, but very likely you're going to see that we're going to use a significant amount of ARPA money for our emergency operations center and emergency backup power generator. I mean, there are things being bought with this ARPA money that are certainly a legacy piece that go directly to public safety, which is absolutely a stated goal within the ARPA, what ARPA money is supposed to be spent on. So I don't know. I think we are spending the ARPA money on what it's intended for. The question is, are we going to spend the ARPA money and take out loans? That's really what it comes down to.
Thank you. Alder Wolf.
Thank you, Your Honor. Well, I think it comes down to, there's just the 6 of us here and, we haven't asked the community. We haven't asked the community what their thoughts are. And I certainly entertain whether we have a public hearing to get feedback. Because, there's just the 6 of us sitting here, and as someone who does not like to make decisions based on my own feelings, that's why I look to my fellow electeds and department heads and administration for feedback. I think if we are looking to change course and possibly go a different route, I think we should entertain the possibility with either public hearing or somehow, look to the public for what this is their community. They are the ones that we serve. What would they like us to do? So that's one thing that we could certainly do. Thank you.
Thank you. Amanda? Oh, I thought you were, it was one of those things like don't scratch. What is the pleasure of the Common Council? It's your decision. No, we were just, so maybe.
I'll make a motion that
mean-
we take no action at this time.
Okay. We have a motion by Alder Stevens, Stephen Knott, Dan Stevens, to take no action at this time.
I'll second.
Seconded by Stephen Knott, all the Stevens. We got the Stevens, we got the Smiths.
For all that, right?
Sorry. Okay, so we have a motion on the floor to take no action. Discussion? No discussion? We're done discussing it? Okay, so the motion on the floor is to take no action. Amanda, at this time. Okay? Okay.
What does that mean then?
We're in discussion.
Other discussion. So what are you?
Diane, is your mic on?
Sorry. So what are you as our city administrator looking for direction?
I mean, I think something specific. So to me, if you vote to take no action, then the legacy project option will go away and we will not pursue a legacy project. If you would like to pursue a legacy project option, then I think you would need to have a motion outlining the parameters of whether we should get community feedback, whether we want to set aside a certain amount, and what you would want the next step to be.
So under discussion, I would urge people to vote against the motion so we can put something forth. Thank you.
Okay, any other discussion? Alder Jurassic?
Diane, can you repeat that motion?
Well, it wasn't my motion.
Or
The motion.
comment?
The motion is to take no action.
Right.
And she is against, she just wanted to state that she urges her fellows to vote no, correct?
To vote no on taking no action. So then maybe we, and if that gets denied, then I'm willing to put forth a motion on the floor.
So this is one of those bad motions where voting yes means no. The motion is to take no action. Do you agree?
In other words, we don't want to kick it down the road farther if we vote.
Perhaps, I mean, that's your decision you need to make.
So the yes
I don't
vote
think-
Keeps the status quo. The no vote opens the door to do one of the legacy options.
Another, or to have another.
Or
motion,
something.
to have another motion.
Oh, no, right?
Or
So
some,
if you want to have another motion.
okay. Does everyone know what they want to do?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay, Joanne, you're on.
Tom Smith,
No.
Dan Stevens,
I,
Stephen Knott,
Aye.
Leanne Stokes,
No.
Larry Jurassic,
No,
Diane Wolf.
No.
Okay, that motion fails 4-2 or 2-4, depending upon, with 2 yes votes and 4 no votes. Okay, do we have a different motion?
So if I may, Amanda, what was your thoughts? I'm sorry, I'm getting a migraine, so I'm not thinking too clearly at this point. What were your thoughts again, that you're looking for some direction?
Yeah, I think, for Sabrina's purposes and the Board of Public Works purposes, well, I think it would be great to go out to committee. I think they need at least some idea of what we would be willing to commit to an ARPA legacy project. And so I think we would want to identify that and then what you want the next step to be, whether it's vetting of the projects, whether it's going to community and getting input related to what the community wants. So I think you want to designate how much and then what you want the next step to be.
And you're looking for staff to pull that all together and come back to us? Is that what I just heard you say?
Yes, so once you would make the motion, if it were to pass, then staff would work on getting, either a community survey out there and or putting together tours of the different projects. We would work on that.
So that would be my motion, what she just said, that as far as I have a tour for alders, so we can all see what we're looking at of the projects, and to pull together
A community survey.
a community survey. Does that
I
make
second.
Okay, wait a second though. What about how much money to earmark
Yeah.
for
I
that?
think that'll be based on the tour, right?
We need to know that for Public Works though.
So are you looking for direction for we're naming a figure or you're going to be naming a figure?
I think you're going to name a figure,
Tonight?
or you can,
To X.
But it can,
Yeah.
but it can always be changed.
it can always be changed. I just think that we're not going to get all of this done and accomplished by the time you have to do your capital improvement budget. So I think we
When-
need the direction of roughly how much they're spending in ARPA funds this year.
Okay, so my third part of my motion will be the two figures that our finance director said, and it's somewhere on my many.
650,000 this year,
650.
579,907 next year.
So you would be then earmarking 579
Thousand
hundred
for,
907, yeah.
for the legacy
the legacy.
and the 650 for the CIP.
Can you state that motion from start to finish?
No. That's why we have Joanne. I'm sorry. It's been a long night for me. I apologize.
So the motion was to have staff organize a tour of potential legacy projects, conduct a community service survey, and earmark 650.
Well, actually, it's reference the legacy project. It's earmarking $579,907 for 2024.
Okay.
Is that correct? That's when, because you'll have to do design and everything ahead of time. So yeah,
For the legacy
for
project.
the legacy, yeah.
I would just designate, it has to be spent by 2024. So
Right.
some of it could be spent in 2023, some of it could be spent.
Sure.
Which would mean 650 would go for capitals this year.
Right.
With the understanding that, I mean, those numbers can change. I mean, that's just throwing out a base just to start somewhere. We're just throwing something against the wall to
Just
start,
to get it moving.
just to get it moving. I'm not married to it. So that's my motion. Sorry.
And that was seconded by Leanne?
Yes.
Okay.
Motion by Diane Wolf, seconded by Leanne Stokes. Everyone knows what the motion is. Stephen Knott.
Okay, just quick comment. So obviously, this is going to move forward with a majority vote based on the previous vote. So, well, I mean, we don't know for sure, I guess, but a likelihood. So I support it specifically because, especially, I should say, because it does include, if in this case, since we're going to be spending extra money, if you will, it includes community input opportunities. So yeah, I mean, understanding the direction we're going forward, now my vote is going to be on how to do it right. And I think this is correct.
Okay.
So.
Thank you. Any other discussion? All right. Let's do a roll call vote again. Joanne?
Stephen Knott,
Aye.
Leanne Stokes,
Yes.
Larry Jurassic,
Yes.
Diane Wolf,
Aye.
Dan Stevens,
Aye.
Tom Smith.
Aye.
Okay, that motion passes unanimously. Thank you for the good direction. And now staff has a lot of work to do again. Okay, go ahead, Amanda. Item B.
Okay, hopefully an easier discussion. So 2023 Training and Employee Appreciation Day. We have two asks that we'd like to kind of have the council consider tonight. The first is training is something that I think the city can do a better job at. We are working to plan a couple different trainings this year with our new HR manager, Amy. She's done an excellent job with that. But it would be really nice to try to put together kind of a day of training. We have also gotten some feedback that there are a lot of employees that would like the employee appreciation event to occur during a workday as opposed to being on a weekend or another day. And so what we would like to do is kind of wrap that up into one entire day. We'd like to close City Hall for a day. What we would propose to do would be to utilize a federal holiday that we're not already closed to, because it's often that those are less traffic days at City Hall because people assume we're closed, even though we're not. So for example, Veterans Day, Martin Luther King Day, Juneteenth, any one of those days, but where everybody would come to work, we would close City Hall and essentially we would have a day of training. So we would do different trainings throughout the day, leadership trainings, training for supervisors, any internal projects could be worked into that if we have those that we sometimes don't have time to do because of other work. And then during this day, we would build in, likely over the lunch hour, our employee appreciation event and kind of wrap that up into one day. So we would not do this in 2022. This would be a 2023 event. And so we're just looking for council support for that. We also actually just, was it yesterday, Dan, or today was Ultra's? Yesterday was Ultra's work day. We had another group, much like Ultra, that came in and also did some work in our parks and around the city. And we talked about it extensively at department head. And we really feel that if these employers are willing to give up their staff for a day and have them come into our parks and work, that we should give up our own staff for a day and go into our parks and go into our buildings, you know, and help out. And so we would also like to do an employee work day where it may not be the entire day, but people could sign up for a shift, perhaps 2 to 4 hours. And maybe they get out of finance and they go spend the morning helping rake leaves in a park, or they go clean up a trail, or, you know, we would identify needs throughout the city and line up projects for those individuals. But we thought that that was a really good way that we could kind of give back to ourselves, relieve a little burden on our maintenance staff, and then just throw a little bit of our time back to the city.
Any discussion on that item? Does it require action?
Now you're looking at all this project in just one day?
Well, I think,
Between
you
the
know,
Days off and everything else?
yeah, so there would be kind of 2 days. So we would do this, they're kind of 2 separate things. There would be the employee appreciation event and training day. So that's where we would take the general 8 hours and we would wrap in different trainings throughout the day, and an employee appreciation event. And then we would take a second day, likely either in the spring or the fall, where the Parks Department would designate a couple projects with other staff, and we would offer an opportunity for people to go out and kind of give back to the city.
Would, in either of those cases, would that include public safety, which are union and kind of need, like, they really can't take a day off? Is this just people in administrative side of City Hall?
I mean, I think it could also involve public works.
And then the follow-up question is if, I mean, overall, I think it's a great idea, but I think there's things that could pop up and make it complicated. Like what if an employee does not want to do, you know, I don't want to go out and rake leaves or whatever, and they want to just do their job? Are they expected to do something different, or?
So the
would there
work
be-
day would not be required. The training day would be required. I mean, we would be shutting down City Hall for the goal of training our employees in a variety of areas. The work day would just simply be something that, you know, we would encourage our staff to do.
Makes sense.
Okay, Alder Stokes?
The question that I have is putting the training and the employee appreciation data together, because police and fire can't be there. And so I'm not really sure that we should be having an employee appreciation when that group, I don't know. That's the only, you know, I just.
It's actually
struggling
really
with that.
no different than what we have now, right? I mean, right now, if we offer it on a weekend, the people that are on their off hours may be able to choose to attend, and the people that are on hours often can't attend. And we understand that. I mean, it would be much the same that if we shut down City Hall, we would encourage those on off hours to attend, you know, as it works into their overtime budgets. And those people that, you know, are on hours, they would have to either, you know, if they're available, they're always welcome to stop by. If they're not, we understand that.
Alder Not?
Yeah, so in its execution, I personally, I think this is a great idea. I mean, any organization needs to have training. There's new technology, new techniques, new things that are learned. They should be updated on that. And, you know, but in its execution, is this going to be a city staff wide day event where they're all together? Or are we looking at maybe being allowing directorates or even sections within directorates that have specific, you know, skill sets, you know, think for instance, inspectors or something like that, where they would have opportunities to have part of that day dedicated to them to come up with their own training agenda?
And Amy can jump in too, but I think we were envisioning it as a combination of both. There would be
Okay.
certain trainings that would be kind of citywide where we would want everybody to come listen to one speaker. And then there would be designated parts of the day where you could do either a department specific training or even a department specific project, you know, something that you just generally can't fit into your schedule because you're all working in different areas. So I think it would be a little of both.
All right, good. Thank you. Did you want to add? Or-
Sure. My experience in executing this type of event in the past, it's been a hybrid.
Good.
It's been all completely dependent on our speakers' availability. I know I'd also been through this during COVID when it's been virtual. But again, the idea is to have everybody together for at least a portion of the day. If we have enough speakers to do sort of breakout sessions or, send people back to take care of projects, as Amanda had stated. But again, the goal would be, it'd be driven on the type of presenters and things that we can organize for that particular event.
Okay. Yeah, that makes me even more supportive. I would like to see that these directors also have an opportunity to use some of that time internally. So. Yeah.
Alder Wolf. Thank you, Your Honor. So as someone who's always in support of, the more training we can do for our employees, because they're our most important asset. I think as Alder not noted, there's always, it's always the execution that's kind of the devil's in the details, but I think I trust that we'll be able to figure it out. And I do appreciate the idea of using of having it on a federal holiday that we currently don't recognize, that we are currently working. So I would think then that would lead to the least disruption for the general public who we all serve. So I will be supporting this, but thank you. I think it's a really good idea. Thank you.
Do you need actual action or you just want kind of a head nod if you should keep planning this?
I mean, I think a head nod is fine.
Okay, so I think we're all good with it, correct?
Yep.
All right, and thank you very much. That's a great idea. Okay, Amanda, go ahead down your list here. C, panhandling.
Yeah, so Alder Wolf had asked me to talk about this briefly. It obviously comes up with citizens quite frequently. Panhandling is a federally protected form of speech. It's a constitutionally guaranteed form of speech. It most recently was challenged in 2020, and that was upheld on the federal level. And so we do obviously get complaints related to panhandling quite frequently. There is not a lot we can do. Madison tried to get very creative using some statutes related to safety, and they designated safety zones, which they can only do along connecting highways. But the problem with that really comes that that even if we were to do that, it would take a significant amount of police time. It likely wouldn't solve the problem. Individuals who do this are often very fluent in their rights, and so they know where they can be, what they can do, to kind of stay under the radar. And so even if we were to create, say, a safety zone, we would be really limited to only the Highway 16 area and only really along that area. So when we start to get off onto Theater Road or back by Quick Trip, some of the spots that they already frequent, that would be far enough off that we likely couldn't control those intersections anyway. And so unfortunately, it's just one of those things that until something changes on a federal level, we can't do a lot with.
Thank you. Alder Knott?
Yeah, so that was somewhat of what my comments were going to be. This is a dangerous path that we have to be very careful on if we're going to create any kind of ordinances. Little bit of the research I did is it exactly that it's considered largely by the courts to be a form of free speech. How in Minneapolis's laws, as an example, in the past, the court struck down. However, Indianapolis's, what I was reading, were far more constrained or restricted on what it is they were doing, and they were actually upheld. So there are some things you can do. I think that's where you're going, as long as public safety or what have you, but we would have to look at what laws the courts have already upheld in order to be safe, as well as what they've struck down, stay away from them. So, yeah.
Correct. And I think we also have to balance the amount of staff time and what the actual outcome of that would be.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Alder Wolf?
Thank you, Your Honor. So I was contacted by a second district constituent, and thank you to both Amanda and Chuck for the discussion that we had recently. And if Chief Ashbeck has any other input that he'd like to, I'd certainly welcome to give input this evening. And I know that I cannot read this word for word, but I was told by Amanda that I can paraphrase the email that I was given by my constituent. They had a concern about the increase of panhandling in the city of Onalaska and the use of cardboard signs, on street corners. They were looking for, could we start a proactive approach? And they also had concern that the Great River Landing, they're having an increase also of homeless people and hanging out there charging cell phones. And just once again, the possibility of proactive approach. I did let him know that I wanted to let him down gently so he didn't expect that we're going to be able to do something, because we could certainly have a discussion about it. But I know that there are a number of things in our way that in order for us to stay legal, we have to. And I agree with you. So Chief, if there's anything else you'd like to add.
Yeah, thank you, Alder Wolf. I agree 100%. We have to be very cautious on what path we do, if we do go down a path, because this could very easily open us up to lawsuits if it's not appropriately handled. It also is logistically very difficult for an officer that has to interact with a person like this. Oftentimes they may not have an ID on them, or now we're spending time trying to positively ID them to fill out a citation. If that information is incorrect, we not only wasted all of that time, but now records clerks time on when we do find out the correct information, all that information has to get changed. It wastes the court's time and it wastes our attorney's time. I mean, we have to balance that out. Like Amanda had said, is the end result where they may not even pay the ticket, now it turns into a warrant? I mean, is that all worth that? So I caution.
Okay, let's see if, does anyone else want to, just only because you went one side, just try to have everyone, Alder Stevens?
So all the points on the constitutional points are and freedom of speech are well taken, and I have no plans to try to overturn any of that. My concern is that when you have people in, especially coming off of those highways, they're not designed to, have pedestrians, and then you have people coming out on where people are coming off of the interstate. If there were to be an accident and somebody were to get hit, whose fault is that? And really the vehicle owner is gonna get tagged with that bill, and also the panhandler is, potentially at risk. So having safety zones, I think where we can, and I would say specifically on exit ramps of off the interstate, I think we should consider that. I mean, we still have to protect the Onalaska residents, and protecting them from, liability is part of that onus, I would say.
Okay, Alder Knott?
I agree. And I think if we delve into the municipalities like Indianapolis, whose laws were upheld by the courts, I didn't delve real deeply into them, but it's my impression that they deal with public safety is really which is your safety zones again. So that's pretty much where it would go, if busy streets, where there's a danger by them standing there, things like that. And honestly, Chief, my mind would be if we pass some laws with some safety zones for public safety, looking out for the safety of the panhandler themselves, wouldn't be so much citation of, where you're doing this right now is not allowed because of public safety. But if you move over to here, it'll be all right. So you're kind of diffusing the situation, getting them into a safe spot to do what they want to do, and which they're allowed to do through, First Amendment. It wouldn't be so much citations and jail time. It was like, you just need to move over here and you'll be okay. Yeah, that's just my own personal view. So wouldn't be that much time for the police officer that way.
It certainly sounds a little more plausible or agreeable, I would say, if that is the scope of, that turns out to be.
That would be my recommendation. Yeah.
And just to clarify, we don't have any plans to draft an ordinance unless that's the direction you give us tonight. This is just more of an informational update. Because
Doesn't the state have some minor laws on this? Or might have, I'm thinking they do.
I mean, there are some rules. For instance, we will ask people if they are in traffic. You can't be on state medians.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a few different applicable rules, but generally speaking, it's not our goal to create a safety zone ordinance unless that is the desire tonight. It was more just to give an update because not everybody's familiar with the panhandling laws.
Okay, any further discussion? Okay, I think we'll just take that one for food for thought. We've had a lot of long discussions tonight, so we'll thank you for that information. Okay, Amanda? Or maybe she could do it while are you gonna read your memo? Or just in the interest of like timeliness.
Has my name on it.
Can't wait to delve
Name
in.
on it? Yes, it does.
Well, she's gonna read the memo.
All right, so for the interest of Kirk, who is going to transcribe this, please don't transcribe my memo, just refer to it as attached.
Lawrence,
Yeah, isn't that special?
Kimberly.
They got new books
These are new and they are shiny. They're so pretty.
and they're bigger.
Fred never let us have new budget books.
It's because they want us
Sabrina's
to
gonna
more stuff.
Before Amanda goes through her memo and her presented budget that you have in front of you, there are a few things that we're still waiting for. Our assessor does need to close with the county, so once they do that, I'll be able to update the mill rate and update the parking ramp levy amount. They get a portion of our levy, so that can still be adjusted. As well as our 2 TIFs. We are having our joint review meeting in November, so those numbers will change a little bit. But that really won't affect anything in the general fund. But just so you're aware, we will see some changes there. Also, open enrollment goes through October 21st, right? Thanks, Amy. I'm surprised I remember that. It's almost my bedtime. So we will have some changes in regards to that, but have fun. There's also an electronic copy that came to your emails of the budget book. It is searchable, so you can search for a word or an account number in that PDF file. Also attached in that email is all of the support that was sent to me in regards to the equipment replacement fund. So any quotes that departments received and sent to me, I put in that PDF. It's almost 100 pages. So I didn't print those and add it to your already 500-page book. So I did not print those pages. If you have any further questions on anything, you know where to find me.
You're available 24/7 by cell phone, right?
Or,
No.
you know, roughly 8 to 4:30-ish, Monday through Friday.
Yes, we did use Express Printing to make the books. They did give us brand new binders. I decided we would just do new binders. The old ones were kind of, we needed new ones. And my staff and Amanda's staff helped today. We had a change that came through last night where we had to replace some pages. So all of my staff and Rebecca came and helped, and we got them all put together for you. So. All right, thanks.
All right, so before you is the 2023 operational budget. Historically, this has been referred to as the administrator's budget or the mayor's budget. I will often refer to it as the operational budget because it is not one person's budget. It is the budget of the city and it is the budget of the staff that work for the city. Many, many hours go into this process. And so I don't think any one individual can take credit. That being said, if you don't like the budget, feel free to complain to me. So with that, while many consider a municipal budget as simply the projected financial operating plan for the year, accounting for expected revenues and allocating resources to various expenditures, I believe the budget really serves as a public education tool. A tool to help the community understand both how much our city is spending and saving, but also what goods and services our taxpayers are receiving. The budget process is a complex and delicate balance of managing the needs of various departments, goals of the Common Council, as well as the expectation of our citizens. Each year, the city faces new and different challenges. One constant challenge is that without access to a local sales tax, a move away from tying growth to net new construction, or additional state aid, the city will remain unable to make significant progress on infrastructure or expand our workforce to address the myriad of needs in a modern community. As a result, each year, in order to provide a balanced budget, the city must consider cutting services, reducing staff, or finding alternative sources of funding. To say that municipal budgeting is a challenge is an understatement. City departments and staff work diligently and rise to the challenge and deliver the best financial plan under our current restraints. As we were prepared for this year's budget, it was clear that we would be facing a budget deficit. By our earliest calculation, we were anticipating a $313,000 gap. Many similar sized communities are facing even larger deficits, and the number of communities requiring operation referendums, it is an all-time high. Due to rising costs of inflation, reducing department operating budgets is not possible. Cutting operational expenses without cutting staff would not balance the budget. As a result of our projected loss, city staff evaluated numerous options to balance the budget, including but not limited to reduction of services, staff reductions, benefit changes, salary freezes, and more. In balancing the needs of our community and our departments, it was clear that any loss of services or staff would result in major impact to the services available to our residents. To continue meeting our current service levels, the following methods were taken to provide a balanced 2023 operational budget. I am proposing a recycling charge as a pass-through cost to our city's serviced recycling customers. This pass-through cost results in a charge of $8 per quarter, which will be billed on the utility bills for all city recycling customers. This charge will directly offset the cost the city pays for this service and will result in a reduction of expenses by $223,000. The remaining gap was filled through a combination of conservative budgeting by city department heads, savings in our health insurance premiums, and an increase in projected interest revenue. As a result of the funding gap, none of the submitted requests for employee wage reclassifications or service modifications were included in the city's 2023 operational budget. Due to the various constraints placed on municipalities, the city's ability to add full-time positions is nearly impossible. However, as a result of the health insurance savings and the recycling charge, I am proposing to add much needed staffing to the Parks Department. The 2023 operational budget includes a regular part-time year-round position with 29.5 hours per week for a parks maintenance person. This position will provide relief to our Parks Department, which took the brunt of the layoffs that were necessary to address budget constraints in 2021. Due to the ongoing budget constraints that the city faces, this is the only position being proposed to be added to the city's operational budget for 2020. Despite our challenges, the city continues to recognize the importance of prioritizing public safety in our community. As can be seen in the below chart, public safety makes up nearly 61% of our expenditures. Our commitment to public safety continues in our spending plan and reflects our 3 new union agreements with our police and fire unions. I'll refer you to the chart, which is in the front of your packet. The city's personnel are also the backbone of this organization. In an effort to address the rising inflation costs, the city is proposing a split COLA with a 1.25% increase on January 1st and a 1.25 increase on 7/1 or July 1st, for a total increase over the year of 2.5% for our non-represented employees. Our fire union agreement includes a 1.5% increase on January 1st and a 1.5% increase on July 1st for a 3% increase over the year. Our police union agreements include a 2% increase on January 1st and a 2% increase on July 1st for a 4% increase over the year. It will be important over the next couple of years to manage the rising cost of living and remaining a competitive employer. With the presentation of the 2023 operational budget, I look forward to working collaboratively with the Common Council and the community as we move through our budgetary process this fall. I want to thank Finance Director Sabrina Steger for her many hours of work on this budget, as well as our department heads, supervisors, and staff for making this budget process and the corresponding 2023 operational budget a reality. It is with good people that we are able to make great things happen. Prepared and respectfully submitted by myself.
I was waiting for you to say your name. Well, thank you very much.
Sabrina let me make very important decisions, including the color of the front cover. So hopefully you like yellow.
Just gonna feel a little sad over all those pages being white. We used to have a thing with Fred where we would have all the different colors and it would be like goldenrod versus, I don't know what they all were now.
So nice and white.
It wasn't the blue, it was the periwinkle. Okay.
I
so
can
that-
order you some highlighters.
So that will make for some fun reading for us all. So it begins.
So now we need to set the budget hearing. We are proposing that be Monday, November 7th at 6:00 PM.
That's something we need to make a motion for. I move that we set our budget hearing for Monday, November 7th, 2022 at 6 PM.
We have a motion on the floor by Alder Knott. It's been seconded by Alder Wolf to set the budget hearing for Monday, November 7th, 2022 at 6 PM. Is there any further discussion?
Yeah, we'll just have to move our plaque dedication back 15 minutes. That shouldn't take long.
Impossible.
We could pick a different date here.
We're gonna
I'm
stick with
budging a
that.
little bit.
Okay, so the motion is on the floor. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say no. The budget hearing has been set. Now, item F, when are we gonna have FMP 2?
So we probably have 3 dates available this year to choose from. We have the entire week, but usually we want to have the date we set it for and then a backup date. So because we did have Plan Commission cancel for the month of October, we are a little bit more open that week than we would normally be.
Okay, so we'd like to pick 2 dates.
Yes.
The last week of October.
Yep, so we're kind of looking at Monday, the 24th through Friday, the 28th. I mean, unless you want to come in here on a weekend, that's always an option, but.
Because the Wisconsin Municipality Conference is that Wednesday, Thursday, Friday before. I mean, I know I'm attending. I know there's a few others of us attending. My only concern is, I know Monday, the 24th is Parks. I know Tuesday Plan is canceled. I'm just wondering if maybe if this council would consider maybe the 26th and 27th, that Wednesday, Thursday. And that doesn't mean that we're gonna need that second night, but at least if we have it posted and we run out of time, then we automatically come back the next night.
That works for me.
How about 26th, Wednesday, the 20th, Thursday, the 27th is the back.
What's the earliest people could start?
Is it usually about 5:30 or?
5:30 is when we've held in the past. We'll be doing in-person absentee voting here in council until 4 PM. So we definitely would need a window in between so that we could set up for the meeting.
You have to do it after.
Does it have to be in this room? Could we go to? We've met in the basement
How
before.
disruptive are we going to be if?
It won't be necessarily tidy in here. Like we'll just push the voting booths to the back of the walls and bring in some chairs. We can stay in here.
It's really a working meeting. I don't know that the decorum is,
Well, I know that I know in the past we've also used the TVs for some displays and stuff. I don't know. if
Yeah, we
we'll
put
do
the
that this
budget up
year.
on the screens last year. I mean, we could meet
you have that option in the
upstairs and
basement.
put the budget up on the big screen in police training.
I prefer to stay here if it's not going to be an
can make
issue for you.
Yep, we can make it work. We can definitely meet in here.
26th at 5:30.
I will, if there's no objection, I'm going to move that we set our finance and personnel 2 meetings for Wednesday, October 26th and Thursday, October 27th, both days starting to be noticed at 5:30 PM.
I second.
Okay, the motion on the floor was made by Alder Wolf. It was seconded by Alder Smith to set FMP 2 meetings for October 26th at 5:30 in this room and also October 27th at 5:30 in this room with the understanding that we will only have the second night if needed. Alder Wolf?
Thank you, Your Honor. And as just a friendly reminder, this will be, all council members are expected to attend. We'll all sit up here. The only people who will be able to make motions and make seconds and vote will be the 3 members of Finance and Personnel. But the remaining three members who are not serving on FNP will still be able to be here, be recognized, and to make possible recommendations for the FNP committee to make changes. And if they don't honor any changes, we three can then go ahead as a full, at the budget hearing on November 7th, we can make those recommendations then, just so you kind of understand the process.
Alder Stevens?
As chair, my policy would be to allow any member to speak on the items. They unfortunately just can't vote, but you can vote when it comes to council.
And sometimes staff members as well.
Sure.
Okay, any other discussion on that? Setting the dates as described. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say no. All right, we have FMP two scheduled. We have a budget hearing scheduled. We have a budget. Phew, all good things. It's
We have a
getting,
budget book. We don't have a budget yet.
yeah, a budget to start working. Okay, now we're going to pause and then go into close, or should we go into close and then pause? Okay, so let's see the motion. Consider a motion to convene in closed session under section 19.85, paragraph 1, paragraph E of the Wisconsin statutes for the purpose of deliberating or negotiating the purchasing of public properties, the investing of public funds, or the conducting of other specified public business whenever competitive or bargaining reasons require a closed session. Specifically, purchase of future parkland on French Road from Elmwood Partners, Onalaska School District property in French Valley, sale of Overhill Road excess property, and the OPPA, the Onalaska Police Professional Association Agreement. If any action is required in open session as a result of the closed session, the council will reconvene in open session to take the necessary action and or continue on with the printed agenda. Do we
Your Honor, I move that we go into closed session.
I will second.
We have a motion by Dan Stevens. It's been seconded by Stephen Knott to go into closed session. Voting is by roll call. Joanne, if you could conduct the roll, I'd appreciate it.
Ann Stevens,
Aye.
Diane Wolf,
Aye.
Leanne Stokes,
Aye.
Larry Jurassic,
I,
Stephen Knott,
Aye.
Tom Smith.
Aye.
Okay, we are in closed session. The time is 10 PM. Let's just, we're not gonna recess. We're just gonna not have any action for a few little minutes. Yeah. Then we're gonna come back and approve it as written. That would be 38. 10:38. We are in open session. Entertain a motion.
I move to approve the Onalaska Police Professional Association Agreement.
Second.
Motion has been made by Stephen Knott, seconded by Dan Stevens to approve the OPPA contract. Any discussion? Alder Wolf?
Your Honor, just want to add for the minutes that it is for a 3-year contract.
Thank you. Any other discussion? Okay, all those in favor of approving this contract, please say aye.
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 Those opposed say no. Motion carries unanimously.
Motion to adjourn?
Second.
I have a motion to adjourn by Diane Wolf. It's been seconded by Stephen Knott. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Those opposed say no. Can you say no? We are adjourned and the time is 10:40 PM.
So do you think they want that area in